The Bible. Is it hard to understand?
When it comes to reading the Bible, the first thing that comes to mind is the fact that this is the Word of God.
The seals have been broken, and the truth is here.
And when we go throughout the scriptures, when we go throughout extra biblical records, we find that the language that God employed, that He used to create the heavens and the earth, was the Hebrew language.
Christ said, I came for the lost sheep of the house of Israel. But yet no one, no religious leader, no religious church out there anywhere can now identify the 12 tribes of Israel. Can we? God is quite simple, but it seems as if man makes understanding Him hard.
What are those mysteries?
The truth of your book and the truth will make you free. The Hebrew and Bible Academy, you're invited.
Shalom, shalom. Come on in.
Written all over your face.
They think they can lie to us.
Scientific intricity you created out in space. Oh yeah.
You can do what you want to do.
You can do what you wanna do. Tap our phones, we know you're listening. You can think how you wanna think now, but you can't stop us. The truth is rising. But to lose, we refuse. I will go down without a fight.
A higher power.
You think that I can't see what you're doing to me? No, you cannot defeat me, 'cause I'm out of your league. My hand on your heel, I'm pulling through, a step ahead of you. You think that I can't see, but you know a higher power's with me.
Come on in, hit the like button. Yes, we have a broadcast for you this evening. Shalom to all my brothers and sisters.
You think you're controlling me?
They think they're controlling us.
You thought that I would stay your slave.
They thought that we would stay slaves.
Strings on me. Oh no, controlling us with your frequency.
Principality powers of the air.
It's too hard to get away. You can do what you wanna do. Tap our phones, we know you're listening. You can think how you wanna think now, but you can't stop us. The truth is rising. To lose, we refuse. I will go down.
Come on.
Fight. You think that I can't see what you're doing to me? No, you cannot defeat me. 'Cause I'm out of your league.
Come on in, come on in, come on in, brothers and sisters. Come on in.
Step ahead of you. You think that I can't see? You know a higher power with me.
About to turn this up a notch, see what it's spitting, cause you in shock like electrical current, so current, leaving you paralyzed, and this truth is so amplified, while your ego's reducing size, we a menace to your society, taking your kingdom violently.
Whoa.
Bring a paddle to the battle, we can be in a valley.
Shalom, how you doing, brothers and sisters? Bless you, bless you, bless you.
I run the race until I finish, how your power giving me the ability, chosen people with no longer a mystery, we won't stop.
You think that
No longer a
I
mystery,
can't
folks,
see?
we're here.
Hey,
The children of
what you're
Israel
doing
is
to
back.
me. You cannot defeat me, 'cause you're out of my league. My hand on your heel, I'm pulling through, a step ahead of you. You think that I can't see, but you know a higher power's with me. A higher power's with me.
That's right. A higher power was with me. Yes, 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 yes. The Most High is calling back Israel. We're about to jump right in. All right, let's see how many viewers we have. Over 1,000. Let's get in.
East is where we're from.
We're from the east.
The 12 tribes of Israel.
The lost sheep of the tribes of Israel.
In 721 BC,
The Assyrian king.
the Assyrian king, he took us down, we fell.
Real history.
With a great escape, we went through the Euphrates.
The Lord
The
held.
Lord held the water still.
He used the angels to go before us.
To a land where no mankind dwelt, we went.
The what?
The 12 tribes of Israel.
The lost sheep of the house of Israel are back.
Manasseh, the Cubans, Ephraim from Puerto Rico, Nepali from the Isles of Hawaii. The Lord is calling back Israel.
Saul is back.
From Panama, Cat, the North American Indians, Syria, the Dominicans, the highest gathering Israel.
The Most High's gather in Israel. I'm Elder Rawchaa of the Gathered of Christ Church, here live this Wednesday with our weekly Blog Talk broadcast. Of course, we're broadcasting internationally, worldwide here on YouTube. First and foremost, I would like to give all praises to the Most High, Ahaya, the true name of God, Ahaya Bahashim Yeshaya Rawchaa, the Most High, in the name of Christ through the Holy Spirit, for allowing us to come before you all today. I hope you all are well, in good graces with the Almighty, and prepared for a nice discussion this evening. Of course, we're going to open up the calls early tonight around 8 o'clock, if it be the Most High's will, because I'm sure a lot of you would like to chime in on this particular topic. That's right. You see the title. I have Elder Lawya. Whatever, Elder Gabar, if y'all want to come in later, just text me and I'll bring you in. But I just want to jump into this discussion. As you can see, the title states it's named The Satanic Control of the Masses. The satanic control of the masses. It seems like the whole earth are under a spell, under some level of psychosis, easily controlled through what they hear in media or through the media. Now, it's not about true, false, or whatever the case it might be. It's more so, and I got my bullet points here. It's more so about being able to control the masses by pulling the heartstrings of the population to steer the population where the power that be wants them to go. Okay? Pulling the heartstrings as if they, the powers that be, have the moral standard on what we as people should deem outrage. What should we really be outraged about? Well, the control mechanism controls that in of itself, while at the same time having us ignore the things we should be concerned about. Every other week, there's a historic, some type of tragedy or something out there on the news, and everyone begin to talk about it, not realizing that there's things we should be focused on every day that's just as heinous to us as a population. It seems like our outrage hinges on what the media says from day to day. When there's a few things we should be outraged about, and not outraged to operate in a negative, with a negative response or through violent reactions. Okay? But more so, the outrage would actually allow us to work without all of the hysteria in the media, to work together in the right spirit, to change the true things that are wrong. I mean, the true things we should be outraged about. Not no protesting and not no marching and not no, oh my God, I can't believe the old man or the children or whatever the narratives are out there. What should we be focused on? What should we be focused on more so that's more heinous than any report one might hear in the news in particular? But I'm going to go over a few of those. I have it in the bullet points. But before we go there, brothers and sisters, do you know the majority of the population are under mind control and can be triggered at any point to do the bidding for the controllers, politically or otherwise? Did you know that? Now, before I go into the things we should be outraged about, during the Obama administration, Hillary Clinton, as the Secretary of State, made this particular statement, okay, before Congress. Well, it was Congress, Senate hearings, and this is what they were discussing at that time, brothers and sisters. I need y'all to hear this. I need you all to hear this. Now, this was before a lot of the social medias came under what? Almost FCC regulation. Okay? This was a time in which you can go to YouTube or go to social media and just say freely what was on your mind without any reprimand or canceling. Listen to what's stated here.
U.S. mainstream media. We are in an information war, and we are losing that war.
We are in an information war, and we are losing this war.
Contrast to the coverage of events by the U.S. mainstream media. We are in an information war, and we are losing that war. I'll be very blunt in my assessment. Al Jazeera is winning.
So, brothers and sisters, how many of us knew that our news programming and television programming was deemed warfare? That the flow of information coming one way was being utilized. We are in an information war, and frankly, we are losing that war. And that's what she stated. Why? Because this was the advent of YouTube, the advent of social media, where outside of the echo chamber or the controlled networks, people were actually talking about real-time things that matter. Not political scenarios that they wanted us all to jump on board with as our causes, like we see today. What they were afraid of. They were afraid of, if we begin to talk to one another, doesn't matter your race, whatever the case is, people would start to understand how much they really have in common. And that people would begin to discuss the real issues outside of the politically driven ones. And resist evil. The people would come together, because I believe all people have the inherent spirit to rally together against injustice. What's wrong? What's evil? And guess what? Candid conversations were being had at this time without censorship. Right? So now I'm going into satanic control of the masses, talking about it, because obviously there was a struggle somewhere as far as she's in the White House and all that believed that the people were no longer going with the programming. The programming, according to the Bible, according to the scriptures, whether you believe in the Bible or not, is a narrative that brings the whole world under a new world order with Satanists at the helm and Lucifer as the controller over the pyramid. Free thought, free conversation began to oppose or slow up that agenda. Now, why am I going into this today? Because there's a lot, seem like from week to week, there's always a big story or an event where it's about, it's tear jerking, something emotional provoking. And all people everywhere jump on board, not realizing the real societal ills we should be focusing on. The real societal ills. And I'm going to be talking about that this evening. But if you don't believe that there's a satanic control over the masses, especially you out there who believe in God and the Bible, you need to hear this. Okay? You need to hear this. I'm going to bring Elder Lawya on real quick. Elder Lawya. Let me bring in Elder Lawya. Come on in, Elder Lawya. Let me see here. Let's see. Hold on, Elder Lawya. I think something happened here. All right, let me put you into focus. Sorry about that. Yeah, your face overtook the entire screen there. Hold on. Okay, Elder Lawya.
All right, shalom, shalom.
It was stated, Elder Lawya, that we, speaking of, government in particular, at this time under the Obama administration was stating that they were in an information war and were losing that war. Now, this is before the corporations began to buy up free platforms like the one we're speaking on today. Right?
Right, now, that's right.
Now, before we can talk about that, so in order for them to progress the information war, because when ABC, NBC, CBS, when you just had three major networks, Elder Lawya, it seems like they could control the hearts and the agendas of the people, right? Political control under programming. But what brothers and sisters might not know is that this is biblical, that it was prophesied because there's so many people in the earth that the people would be actually controlled through air or a frequency. See, it's not enough to be able to control. You can't control billions of people without one singular frequency. So it was prophesied that this programming that we see today would actually be in existence as a form of control, right? Where the media would have the moral high ground or would substantiate what we should deem moral instead of how it used to be. We used to be able to cleave through the traditional values within the Bible as our moral standard. But somewhere the media came in and made it where they decide where we're triggered, what, as far as our moral stance and what those should be. Well, suppose those in control of the levers, Elder, are immoral. Suppose the immoral are at the helm telling us what we should be concerned about.
Right.
So that lead us to say, you know what? Let's break away from the frequencies and let's go back to a moral standard in which we can recognize a clear distinction between those we should listen to and the rest, starting with a moral code. And I'm going to talk about that in a minute. I don't want to put this cart before the horse, but let's go into the Bible real quick, right? Because it seems that the media has the power to put out a news circulation for whatever the case is, good, bad, or ugly, and that can make everyone sad at once. Whether the story is sad or not, it's not the issue here. It's the power to be able to control so many people at once, but have us ignore the heinous destruction that are happening to our men, women, and children daily. That gets no press, that gets no fanfare or sympathy by anyone because what? The media ignores it. And we're going to talk about that tonight. Elder Lawya, I need you to go to Ephesians 2 for me real quick. Real quick.
Yes, sir.
Let's go to Ephesians 2. And
Ephesians.
let's start at the let's start at the first verse. That's fine.
Yes, sir. Ephesians chapter 2, verse number 1.
Yes.
And you hath he quickened who were dead in trespasses and sins, wherein in time.
Hold up. Let's talk about that first, because that's a clear divider right there. So this is not saying that anyone is holier than thou, that anyone, that none of us are without fault. Paul starts off with, we were all dead. We were all sinners. We were all immoral at one point. But now we come to the knowledge of truth. It tells us that Christ, through Christ's blood, we have been forgiven for that immorality. Read it again.
Ephesians chapter 2, verse number 1. In you hath he quickened who were dead in trespasses and sins.
In sin, read.
Wherein in time past ye walked according to the course of this world.
Hold up now. In time past. The time past is when our people, when we were ignorant of our sins. When we were ignorant of what? Our immorality. When we were ignorant concerning the sins against the laws of God. Now, when we are immoral, going against God's law, which is in the Bible, someone else controls your course, your actions, your emotions, your direction. Read it.
Wherein in time past ye walked according to the course of this world.
The course of this world, that means you're going in line with everyone else. You think like everyone else. You speak like everyone else. You're in line with the masses. Whatever the masses do, you are in course with. Read.
According to the prince of the power of the air.
According to what, Elder Lawya?
According to the prince of the power of the air.
According to the prince of the power of the air. Frequency. Mass control frequency. Starting with TV, airwaves. See? Satan, when you're not in line with God's law, what's going on? You're still being, incrementally or slowly directed without knowing. You believe a lot of these ideas and your moral standard and how you feel about things socially is organic or an individual decision, but it's not. You've been convinced to think what you think, to say what you say, to have certain pet peeves, to have certain interests. All of these have been given to people through what? Read.
According to the prince of the power of the air, the spirit that now worketh in the children of disobedience.
The children that now work. The spirit that works in the children of what?
Of disobedience.
Of disobedience. Those who are disobedient to God's, they're disobedient. They are against God's laws. So what's happening? What they do is they went to establish their own moral code. And through this, behind the veil, attack those who are righteous, who are trying to do right, who's trying to get their people together, who want to live, trying to attack those who are trying to live and live a moral code to sustain family, which is the image of God. But they work behind the veil. They work behind the veil and control people and trigger people. The emotions of the masses, that's right, through media. Now, folks, this was prophesied almost 2,000 years before modern communication. Modern day communication, folks, this was prophesied that the masses would be controlled. The children of disobedient who are ignorant to God's law would be easily controlled by the frequencies of the air, by everything you see on TV, by everything you hear on the internet that's not tempered or measured through God's law. See, when you have God's law in a moral code, you're able to filter the frequencies and discern what's right, what's wrong. Who should you hear and who should you ignore? Right? So there's a few more things I wanted to show. Thank you, Elder Lawya. I'll bring you back in one moment.
Yes, sir.
Satanic control of the masses. Now, before I go into it, I need everyone real quick, do us a favor. I need everyone, if you can, just hit the like button for us real quick so that the algorithm can drive everyone here, because I have a lot to go into, okay? Hit the like button. I will really appreciate that. Okay. Now, the next thing I wanted to talk about is the fact that we're only in the second week of our Hebrew and Bible Academy. The first week was absolutely outstanding. We broke down the creation of the universe and showed the idiocy of what we would call science or evolution versus creation, where it's totally, you have to have total faith to believe in evolution. Okay. I'm going to tell you right now, it takes more faith for those who believe science to believe that the world came through a big bang than one would believe the original narrative before America came with this atheist teaching of evolution. It takes a lot of faith to believe in that crap. So we went solely into the creation of the universe, how all things are made. And guess what? It was a great class. The news was outstanding with Elder Rawchaa. And guess what? We're going to jump right back in week 2. This week, we're going into tracing the serpent seed, and we're going to expose the flat earth, which is an ideology that came from India. The origin of the satanic ideology of the flat earth. There was a place underwater submerged with a dome over it that we're going to uncover. The flat earth is a lie, and it's also a satanic ideology attached to it. That and more will be covered week 2 of the Hebrew and Bible Academy. It tells us in Isaiah 40:22 that the earth is sphere, it's round. Okay? But it's not just the shape of the earth that's important. They wanted people to go into the ideology of the flat earth because they understand the satanic connection to it. So right at the same time they're rolling out Lucifer as their god, they present one of the layers, one of the cities Satan ruled from, that gives you the flat with the dome. And we're going to be talking about that in the Academy week 2. And we're going to be covering a lot of things. We're going to show people in this Academy. We're going to break down the true historical Pharaoh who was Pharaoh during the time the Israelites, our people, were in Egypt. Okay? Let me tell you, it wasn't Ramesses. And the historians know it. They have purposely allowed people to learn that lie. It wasn't Ramesses. I don't care what Prince of Egypt, what they wrote in that fictitious piece of myth. Okay? And all that. I'm going to tell you right now, it doesn't matter what the Ten Commandments tell you, because they lie all through the Ten Commandments. The Cecil B. DeMille version. They lie all through that one. When it comes on, oh, we've been in bondage here for 400 years. We've been in bondage for 400 years. The God of Abraham saved me. It comes on with a lie when there's no historical proof of Israelites ever serving 400 years in bondage within the country of Egypt. That history doesn't exist. We were afflicted by the Egyptians for 400 years. The affliction had nothing to do with 400 years of bondage. The affliction started when Abraham was going into Egypt, Isaac went into Egypt, Joseph went into Egypt, up until the time we received the law. During the Exodus, up until the time we received the law, the Egyptians were still trying to do certain things to try to, to oppose our rule, because they didn't want us to become free. On top of that, they didn't want us to do what? Go into Israel and become a nation who would one day oppose ancient Egypt. So that's another lie. Let me tell you, they're full of lies, but I'm going to break down the true teaching of the Hyksos and the true Pharaoh of Egypt so that we can place this in its right historical context, which utterly destroys Egyptology that was created here in America, because even the Egyptians don't know. They look at these people here in America as Egyptologists as totally discredited. Let me tell you, they look at these guys. You wouldn't like what they're saying in Egypt. The true historians about Egyptologists here. They know these people ain't nothing but race hustlers that created some crap back to Africa for a slave population who doesn't know history. Okay? So I'm going to talk about that and more. Finding the Ark of the Covenant, the power of the Ark of the Covenant, all of that, the true timeline in the earth. That's right. I'm going to go into the true timeline, show everyone where they begin to lie concerning our times. More and more and more is coming out as we come closer to the end. Okay. So I hope that all of you will be a part of this. It's only week 1. Okay. So if you enroll historytimes.org, what I'll do, will make sure you get the 1 week, last week you've missed, along with the download to be able to download the information and study in your own time. The 1 week you missed. So if you enroll today or between this week, you'll get this stuff in advance and be caught up by the time Sunday hits. Okay. So go to historytimes.org. And since I'm into this, before I go into this particular broadcast fully, I want all of you to put out your prayers and make sure you brothers and sisters send up your prayers to the Almighty. Brother Tony, who've been in many of our academies. I think his name is Tony 333. I've spoken with his family. He was in a motorcycle accident. He's doing better. I prayed the night beforehand when I first heard the news, but he's in the hospital there in Minnesota, and he's doing a lot better. But send up your prayers for the brother. I hope to have him back very soon. And I'm going to FaceTime his family a little later between today and tomorrow so that, I can pray with them and, encourage him. But she said the swelling in his face, he had trauma to the head, but the swelling went away overnight. So I'm going to call after this, and it seems like he's on the road to recovery. But make sure, brothers and sisters, you put out your prayers, send up your prayers to the Almighty for our brother Tony. And I know he feels it because hey, his family's saying he's snapping back quickly and through the Spirit of the Almighty. So my prayers are going out to him, and make sure you send your prayers out also. Now, jumping right in. Thank you for hitting the like button. Let's go. Let's go. The satanic control of the masses. Now, why are they trying to get so much control over the earth right now? Why are they speeding up things? Okay? Why? Because first and foremost, the Most High said that he would begin to awaken the lost tribes of Israel throughout the four corners of the earth. All right? And at that point, the political landscape would change altogether. Okay? The political landscape would change. Number one, we would no longer allow the politics to determine our future. The politics of this world. We will not allow their triggered stories or their hot button stories to control us emotionally, because then we'll begin to realize, we would then understand why the powers that be rule. We'll understand that there's no interest that the politics of this world would have in actually helping our people. Okay? And if they can't trigger us into their hot button discussions with George Floyd and all this other stuff, if they cannot do this, one wing of the political bird is cut off. See? So when the Most High began to awaken his people, no longer could they trigger us or dangle a carrot in front of us, claiming that really the political agendas out there are for our cause. We would begin to understand, we would begin to ask for things tangible that would help us at the surface. Let me show you what we were talking about in 2018, brothers and sisters, real quick. In 2018, before the world stopped and now Bill Gates and others came out, there were articles in which our people were discussing in the communities the gentrification, the Negro removal, and the housing crisis. How our people were getting systematically moved out of housing. They were separating families. On top of separating families, they were taking property from our people, regentrifying our properties of our people, and moving immigrants in to replace our people. 2018. So when the Most High started to awaken the people, right? There's a scripture in Egypt where the Most High told Moses, tell all the children of Israel to borrow from the Egyptians. And really, when that happened, that changed the political landscape. Why? Keep in mind, brothers and sisters, before I go here, keep in mind, Egypt would not have become a superpower if it wasn't for our people going into Egypt, establishing Egypt as a stronghold. By what? By having the Egyptians plan during a 7-year plenty. Okay? After that 7-year plenty under Joseph, there was a 7-year famine. That, and you can find this, folks, in secular history outside of the Bible's narrative. All in the Mesopotamian area, there was a 7-year famine. Okay? And during that time, all the gold, riches, grain, and let me tell you, all of the kings in that area began to pay homage to Egypt for the sake of survival. Joseph, our brother, the father of the Ephraimites today, the Puerto Ricans and the Cubans. Let me tell you, folks, he was made prince over Egypt well before Moses was born. And all of the financial resources, wealth, jewels, gold was sent into Egypt because of us, preserving the earth alive during a 7-year plenty. Helping the people during the famine is why Egypt became so great. Now, at the very end, before the Most High would free our people, the Most High said, let's borrow from the Egyptians. Why? Because it was because of us, Egypt became great. Okay? So we understood that the Egyptians weren't giving us anything. They weren't giving us anything. That was repayment for the children of Israel building Egypt, making Egypt a superpower. So it's the same as us coming out of Egypt now. The conversations are going into things like regentrification. Why are they replacing our people? That's the real conversation on the ground. Reparations. What should a people receive who built the country from scratch? So when the political landscape, when they begin to hear conversations like that, they realize that we're no longer controlled by the frequency. Because it's usually them through the media telling us what we as a people should be concerned about. See? It's usually them telling us what we should be concerned about. But now we have interests out there that's focusing on helping our people at the core. At the core. We started talking about the regentrification. But yet the mass media don't talk about that. Why? Because there's a certain people in this earth under attack that they refuse to talk about. They won't say who's under attack, and they won't tell us why we're under attack. But we will. I'll tell you. The people are under attack are the children of Israel. The Bible tells us in Jeremiah, the 30th chapter, that this time period that they're building a new world order is called in the Bible Jacob's trouble. Jacob's trouble. It's triangulating all races of people together like they were at the Tower of Babel to come against God's people during the awakening. That's the political landscape we're living under right now. Okay? Jacob's trouble. So when they see us talking about the regentrification, the fact that they're coming up with all these systems to separate family, to chase the man out of the home, causing all types of systemic issues between man and woman where there's no code one with another, demonizing the male figure, knowing that would disproportionately affect our people because the other races don't have to worry about anyone challenging their masculinity. They're already on top. So they don't even have to worry about it. They'll put it out there, feminism, separation, and all that, knowing that it will disproportionately affect the children of Israel. Right? So we began to talk about things like regentrification, reparations, real hot button topics that should be discussed. Not these stories that come out every other week and all that we should be concerned about when our people are being regentrified. Heart attacks are going on all over the place. We're dying right up under everyone's noses and no one is saying anything. Our children are dying in Chicago. We're being killed all over the place. They're pushing marijuana dispensaries and drugs and opioids all on our children. But yet they want us to react when they want us to react. They'll put out a hot button story and make you and pull your heartstrings when really, the death that our people are experiencing should be on every frontline page every day. What we have to deal with systematically in our communities, that should be the front line. That should be the media. How the children of Israel are being destroyed through stealth, through political agendas that are established within both parties to actually eradicate this earth of what? Morality, and that's God's people. Now, let me show you something real quick. Real quick. So there's a lot of things going out there, but when they're out there, check out some of the laws that'll be passed if we believe the principalities and powers of the air. First Amendment. First Amendment within the Constitution. Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion, prohibiting the free exercise thereof, or abridging the freedom of speech. The freedom of speech. Now, I don't know if y'all notice, brothers and sisters, but a lot of these so-called particular, I would say, events we hear of through the media is leading to quelling the right for us to actually speak freely against what's opposing us. The agendas and the politics that's opposing us. Freedom of speech. So here are the natural guards that are in place that if they take all of these away, the New World Order is easily assumed, right? Next, Second Amendment. A well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed, right? Now, these are laws that are within the Judeo-Christian laws within the Bible, where Christ said, sell your cloak and get a sword, right? Not to do violence, but if violence is being done to you, you should be able to protect yourself from the assailer. Okay? So the right to bear arms were deeply ingrained within the Constitution so that if someone came to harm you or your family, you would have a right to protect yourself, right? Next thing, right? We have a Fifth Amendment, which is the freedom of travel. The freedom to travel. The freedom to travel, right? The freedom to travel, which is what? In the Fifth Amendment. Now, why am I saying this, brothers and sisters? Why am I going here? If you notice from one event to the next, since our people began to understand who we were, it seemed as if laws are being crafted to take away the freedoms that would protect us as individuals. So instead of us just looking at the events that are out there, shouldn't we more so look at the laws that are being changed that may affect us negatively down the line? But people are easily triggered and easily controlled. They live in the moment. They cannot see, right? They can't see the forest for the trees. See? And the powers that be understands this. But if all of these are eroded, something else happens. I need y'all to look at this clearly. Hold on. Something else happens. What'll happen right up under your nose? I need y'all to look at this. Mayors from around the globe met to discuss better ways to support and welcome immigrants into their cities.
As a collection, a global network of mayors, we are saying.
A global network of mayors going into a new world order.
We are part of the solution. We haven't got all the answers, but we can bring a really important input to where the world is run that can actually begin to.
Did y'all know the mayors around the world were uniting as one body? Leading to an international governance, folks, where immigrants will be moved all over the place to do what? To change the landscape politically for people who are now standing against what? You got it. The injustices that were done against them. So now they put immigrants in place who will slowly phase or regentrify not just the housing, but the people out of existence. Did y'all know about that? There's more right up under your noses. And I'm going to show y'all, folks, real quick before I jump back in. I'm going to show you how they got y'all. Satanic control of the masses. Folks, this is how they got us triggered through the media. Are we going to fall for this again? BLM movement driven by occultic practice. They got us, folks. This is what they did. we're gonna bring it all around together. I need y'all to see where I'm going here. Major social media outlets are finding ways to block the conservative evangelical viewpoint. I don't want to talk about that. I want to talk about how outright many Americans support BLM because we actually agree with the statement by which it is named. So they're using us as a front. Of course, Black Lives Matter. But at its core, BLM is dark and evil. The organization founders, Patrisse Cullors, Alicia Garza, and Oprah Tometi, are known as community organizers. That's how they're getting us. But there is more to the story, much more. You'll likely seen or heard about the recently resurfaced 2015 interview wherein Cullors revealed its true underpinnings. Listen, we do have an ideological frame. Myself and Alicia in particular are trained organizers. We are trained Marxists. We are trained Marxists. Well, Karl Marx, the founder of Marxism, was a Satanist. Was a Satanist. So this is how they were able, folks, to hijack the frequency. The same time men were waking up to who we were, looking to take a stand to be able to bring our people back under a moral code, they found these women, these witches, and used them against God's frequency, the Bible. And you noticed, once this happened, starting with the protest and others, there haven't been any peace since. Starting from the George Floyd marching, all the way to the earth shutting down. You notice there have been events after events so that they can now take back the narrative. The narrative was, according to Hillary, is that they were losing the information war. Listen.
Contrast to the coverage of events by the U.S. mainstream media. We are in an information war, and we are losing that war.
We are losing that war. We began to talk about who are the children of Israel. We were talking about getting back on code with God's law, Stop selling drugs. Stop harming one another. Let's keep families together. And you know what? They were losing that war. They were calling us conspiracy theorists and all of that. But the people, what they were concerned about, the powers that be, was not that whether or not it was true or false. The fact that people were listening to something different, something moral, something that would lead us to solutions is what they were afraid of. People were no longer, our people in particular, following Satan's frequency. So they put Satanists up there. They try to make us believe that this organization cared about black men while our black men are dying in the streets daily, being blocked out of opportunity, being gentrification going right now. Black people are going into tent cities with no place to live. And they wanted us to believe that these women cared for black men. When these women hate black men. And you notice from that point on, brothers and sisters, the media was able to take back the attention. But in the midst of this, freedoms are being taken. You can't say what you want to say freely. Right? Even in the Constitution, it says a right to travel. But now there's loopholes even in that. Well, did you take this test, or did you do this, or did you do that? Well, now I thought we had the freedom of travel. And then now there's other scenarios where it'll be what? You will not have a right to protect yourself if assailed, if certain laws are passed. On and on and on and on. Here we are, brothers and sisters. Here we are. So I'm going to have this conversation tonight with the on Blog Talk so that we can talk about amongst ourselves what are the hot button topics we should be concerned about, not the topics that are politically driven. Not the politically driven topics. All I know, at the same time our people were dying here when they shut things down, you had administrations bringing Afghanians in, having open borders and all these other things happening to replace. Where were they making space for these new people, folks? Moving our black men, our people into tent cities while they're replacing them with all these people. Setting up marijuana dispensaries all over the place, knowing that marijuana makes a man docile and straight up lethargic without care. Marijuana will have you just going through the motions of life without engaging, without even getting involved with life. Giving out crack pipes and all these things, totally destroying the image of God. And yet they would like us through these events to be triggered into accepting the outrage that they're producing. Men are under attack, and women are under attack too. Report. Call Mother's Day to be a call for Mother's Day to be renamed Parents' Day. So it includes switch gender or transgender men who have also given birth. So y'all thought they were going to stop at attacking. You thought the attacks would stop at men? Women are under attack too. No longer is there Mother's Day, but let's call it Parents' Day, because Mother's Day is, offends trans men who have babies. Right? Oh, so you thought they were going to just stop at men? When Satan is against the image of God, male and female. So let's talk about what we should be focusing on for self-preservation according to God. We should be focused on the moral decay of our society, the separation of our families. We should be concerned about them bringing in people to replace us while what? Making it convenient for almost, based on what I'm seeing, sooner or later, who knows what can be down the pipeline? What? Soylent Green? Maybe people can decide that this is just too much and it's time to check out. Maybe that's, I don't know. What about setting moral standards according to the Bible? Traditional values that we can all agree upon. Let's not talk about what happens when it's heinous things happening in schools and all that. Why don't we bring prayer back into schools? Why don't we bring the Bible back into the schools? Therefore, when the children grow, they'll understand the laws of God. What is it? Thou shalt not murder. Honor thy mother and father. Instead of reprogramming our people against the morals of God, leaving to heinous crimes out there because God isn't being taught anymore. So we at the end of it only speaking of the crimes and not speaking to a society that actually, folks, cultivate murderers, liars, killers, thieves, so that only they can come back and say, you know what? We need a convenient solution. Shut up and disarm yourself. So let's talk about real time solution outside of the triggering that's going on out there. Why don't we start praying again? Why don't we have a conversation between men and women that would have us love each other again? Why don't we bring back the order God intended with man as the head, women in submission, and children learning what a functional family looks like? See, that's when we had the higher ground in messaging. Without family, with us being separated, there's nothing for us as individuals to defend. When there's no more family, there's no defense because there's nothing to defend and they know it. Why don't we promote and incentivize traditional family, male and female, how it was in the beginning? Now, whatever someone else want to do is their business. But I'm talking about what we should be focusing on as a society, as a people, what God intended. Right? Let's promote and incentivize straight families. That's not, because don't forget, there's been a Jedi mind trick, folks. You had people who were vying through California and other legislation right before the Obama administration so that they can take on the labels as husbands and wives. And they have the freedom to do so. That's their choice. But we have taken on their titles instead of advancing to a degree in which we want husband and wife, straight husband and wife. We're talking about being partners. When that was the title they was fighting against. They didn't want to be domestic partners. They wanted to be husband and wife. They have taken our titles and now we've taken on and celebrated theirs. I want a partner. We're partners. Things that Satan have turned things upside down. At once we desired to be husband and wife. They have taken that title, and we're online talking about being partners. So children are growing up not realizing what a husband and wife is anymore, because others have taken the title, and we're celebrating the titles they have discarded. We're celebrating being partners. I want a partnership. What are you talking about, a partnership? God didn't make no partnership. So the children can grow up not understanding what roles as it was intended from the beginning. Satan have done a real good job with this messaging. Straight people want to be partners, and all the other people want to be husbands and wives. They call themselves on TV and all that. Well, that's my husband. A guy saying another guy is his husband. Oh yeah, that's my wife. They are celebrating those titles. Titles we take for granted. And we'll sit next to each other in an argument or talking to them. Yeah, we're partners. How did they reverse roles like this? We need to start promoting. There should be, and nothing wrong with whatever somebody else does. But you know what? We should have straight pride and start talking about that. Okay? Straight pride. Husband, wife, traditions. How is the messaging is only coming from one way and we're not talking about what's going on? That we're not talking. Don't forget, when people come with these political movements, they're incentivized. These political things that are out there, finances are behind these particular movements. And where the finances are coming from. They're not coming out of the sky. They're coming from us, quote unquote, black minorities. They're siphoning out all of the finances that would help us. While the children of Israel dies, right up under their foot, right up under their nose, and no one is talking about it. But more so than anything, before I open up the lines, and I want y'all to talk about it too. What should we be focused on outside of the messaging? Outside of how they would like us to feel with every event or everything that happens every week, while ignoring the real issues. The children of Israel are under attack. Our people are being gentrified right up out of our homes. Our families are being separated. The messaging is they hate family. They hate traditional family. And it's upon us to push back and say, you know what? I'm not going to be triggered with what they put out there on the media. I don't care about none of that. Not until people start addressing our concerns. I don't care if y'all inundate the news with, oh my God, you see what happened in Texas? You see what happened over there? Listen, I see what's going on with our people every day, and you're silent. And this not to take away from anything. If anything that happened to anyone, my prayers go out to them. But at least what they're publicizing out there is getting what? Attention. At least that's getting attention. While our people are suffering, our families are being systematically separated. We're being attacked inwardly by our own people, being used as agents, satanic agents, to destroy us, claiming that these movements are for us. These women don't represent me. Their movement doesn't represent the plight of our people. Our people are the children of God. Last but not least, amongst ourselves, because we can't wait for the satanic frequencies to do this. This has to happen organically, folks. It comes a time in which we as a society must discourage sinful activity, which is deemed immoral according to the Bible. Period. See, if we set standards based on morality, we can, right there, organically, the true leadership comes to the top. Okay? We're not going to let some immoral people like this be put in political position through triggered positions to steer the narrative. We would have to do some background. Okay, what do you believe? Do you believe in the Bible? Where's your husband? Why isn't he leading this movement? See, we'll ask the hot button questions according to the traditional values aligned with our Bible. This disqualifies you, sister. Go sit down. If you don't believe in our God, you don't believe in the traditional institution of marriage, if you hate men, and if you are a Marxist, I don't care how big your mouth is and how good you know how to protest, you are disqualified from representing us. Okay? You don't morally fit the bill to speak for us. See, and this is why they wanted to take the Bible out of the schools and prayer out of the schools. Because then anybody can get in position with a big mouth without understanding their background and their true agendas. We're going to talk tonight. Let's talk about real outrage. What should we be truly outraged about? Outside of their frequencies. Elder Lawya, Elder Lawya, let me bring you in. Before I go into the phone calls, you have anything you wanted to say on that?
I was holding a reference, the book of Jeremiah 30.
Yeah.
I'll go ahead and read that for you.
Yes, let's go there first, because this is what we should be focused on. There's an agenda to kill the children of Israel throughout the four corners of the earth and gentrify us and put us down silently without anyone knowing. Let's read it.
Yes, sir. Jeremiah chapter 30, verse number 1. The word that came to Jeremiah from the Lord, saying, Thus speaketh the Lord God of Israel, saying, With all these words that I have spoken unto thee, or write all these words that I have spoken unto thee in a book. For lo, the days come, saith the Lord, that I will bring again the captivity of my people Israel and Judah, saith the Lord. And I will cause them to return to the land that I gave to their fathers, and they shall possess it. And these are the words that the Lord spake concerning Israel and concerning Judah.
You see that? So the Bible says outright that the Most High would begin to awaken our people. No longer would they be controlled by the political messaging that's out there, because it all changes. It's one thing when we thought that we were what? That we were made to be under perpetual servitude. At that point, you're satisfied as a beggar and appreciate anyone who would flick crumbs off their table. So you can easily be moved politically if in your mind you're predisposed into believing that you should be under other people. You should be less than other people. But when our people began to understand that we're the lost sheep of the house of Israel, we began to understand that no matter how many flicks they want to flick off the table, it isn't enough for what we've done to build everything you see. We'll realize that the kingdom isn't something we die to receive. It's something we live for. It's something we live for that our children will one day on earth benefit from, like every other race of people. See? So we started to, when we found out we were Israelites, they were like, okay, I don't care what the other nations, who they think they are, but I know what comes with me being an Israelite. Okay? Promises. I'm related to Jesus. Okay? I'm related to Jeremiah. I'm related to the people in the Bible. And guess what? They were working for a promise beyond what the Gentiles could actually dole out to us. And at the end of it, we win as a people. See, that message altogether, totally, I don't care what they put on the media and put out there. Oh my God, you see all these people? Shoot. Yeah, the gun. Listen, I don't care nothing about that. What's up with my people? How does what you talking about on the news help what my people are dealing with in the inner cities? And if it doesn't, you might as well just go to commercial. Okay? You might as well go ahead to the next story to try to trigger someone else, because we want to know what you're talking about that's aligning with God's prophecy and what's for us. See, when we started to realize we were Israelites, okay, you can't politically trigger us with some race baiting. Oh my God, some black people got shot here. Oh, Chinese people got dragged over here. Oh, white people grabbed a gun and did that. Why did they put race with every hot button story, folks? If everyone are just American citizens and committing crimes, why do you have to put a race out there? Put the crime they did and lock them up for it. But it's that frequency. So that black people can get on the side and say, yeah, man, all those white people, they crazy. A matter of fact, let me look around. And some of those crazy white people around me, that's all it is, folks. It's misdirection. All of what you're seeing is misdirection. It's to trigger a control that was seeded in you since being under the course of this world. There have been planted hypnosis triggers in all of the people who are after the course of this world, and can automatically trigger you against another race of people, male against female, and all of that. Because Satan is the master of what? Divide and conquer. But when you're no longer listening to the messaging, it has no power over you. Your message is, what's in it for our people? Period. Okay, that's it. What's in it for the children of Israel? Okay? No, we don't want college debt relief and all that. Nah, we don't want none of your, nah. We want a conversation that aligns with God's people in the Bible. Okay? A political protection. Okay? A political protection. You can put out there, stop Asian hate and all that. Well, stop killing the children of Israel. Stop systematically dividing and incentivizing, separating our families. Come on, Elder Lawya, let's go.
Yes, sir. Verse number 5. For thus saith the Lord, we have heard a voice of trembling, of fear, and not of peace. Ask ye now, and see whether a man do of travail with child. Wherefore do I see every man with his hands on his loins, as a woman in travail.
Come on.
And all faces are turned into paleness.
Come on.
Alas, for that day is great,
What day is it?
Alas, for that day is great, so that none is like it. It is even the time of Jacob's trouble.
It's even the time of Jacob's trouble. So, folks, this is how they assume the New World Order. They must attack and suppress the awakening, because this is what puts us on code with the heavens for protection. And guess what? When we become Israelites and we understand the law and follow God's law, no longer will we align ourselves politically with the immoral. It so happens that through all these events, they've put the immoral in place. The immoral are in charge of the purse strings over our society, over our community. They slowly but surely put the immoral up and made them activists and siphoned all the money from from outside of us to a point where now they're bringing pastors to their knees and saying, listen, if you don't speak what we speak, we're shutting down your churches. They have politically siphoned and hijacked civil rights, taking the money right from up under us, so that they could attack us through stealth. This was a plan well hatched by Albert Pike in the late 1800s, where they would do what? They would send the nihilist and the atheist against the righteous at the very end, but the Bible calls it Jacob's trouble. Jacob's trouble, where they would begin to attack Jacob once Jacob realized that we're not Gentiles. We aren't Hamites. We're God's people. And it's upon us to change the course of this world by doing God's law. And see, and the Satanists know that. So what they're trying to inundate the earth with their programming, with their events, and silence truth at the same time. Read on.
Alas, for that day is great, so that none is like it.
What is it? What is it, Elder Lawyer?
It is even the time of Jacob's trouble, but he shall be saved out of it.
But he shall be saved out of it. They call it assuming the New World Order, but the Bible calls it Jacob's trouble. Now, why am I messaging this out there to you all, folks? Because if the Bible says the New World Order is trying to assume itself at the very end, and it's telling us it's Jacob's trouble, God is telling our people everywhere that we are in trouble. As the time grows near towards Christ's return, our people will be under more and more attacks, more heat, more than at any time in history. That's why they're going to open up the borders and bring them right into the neighborhoods. These are social time bombs in the form of people. From this country to that country, they're transplanting people right next to us on purpose, folks. This is Jacob's trouble. But what? Read that again.
But he shall be saved out of it.
So we need to talk about this, Elder Lawyer. How we can discourage sinful activity, which is deemed immoral according to God. We have to talk about it, right? Because let's not let them control the messaging anymore. As God's people understanding what's right for everyone according to God, I need you all out there to say with your own, your own opinions. What should we be focused on outside of what they're telling us we should be focused on? What should we be viewing to correct it, or what to do opposed to them? Because all these messaging they have out there on mainstream media is pushing us towards their solutions, the Hegelian dialectic. And their solution is what? Destroying the children of Jacob. So we need to talk about, okay, if you did have an opportunity or a big bullhorn like they do, what would you say? What would you say should be the conversations that should be had? The narrative that should be spoken of daily? I have a few. Stop replacing people through gentrification. Number one. That means halt all immigration and give the people who built the country what belongs to them. Okay? The same way Pharaoh and all of them had to break off Israel before the Exodus because they built Egypt. Our people built Egypt. So they trying to convolute, Elder Lawyer, the waters. They're trying to convolute and muddy the waters so that to silence those who are speaking up now and saying, well, listen, No more talking about to do it for this group or that group or that group. Nah, you owe a debt to God's people. Don't try to slowly put us down and make us sick and do all this other stuff. Nah, address the issue. Right? Set up moral standards according to the Bible. Because I'm starting to believe what we're seeing being taught in the schools was the plan the whole time when they said, let's take prayer out of the schools. Let's take the Bible out of the school. Everybody don't believe in the Bible. Only to push what we're seeing now. We was better off with children praying in the schools. We were better off when people were reading the Bible in the schools. The fear of God is the beginning of all understanding. And then if that's ingrained in them spiritually, we would have less people out doing wrong or shooting or killing and all these other things. And I think if we had time, Lawya, time down the line, there would be a case study on the ill effects of all of society when they begin to take prayer out of the school. I believe the society we see right now is a direct result with them doing what? Stopping children from actually having a fear of God in their impressionable ages. I remember walking down the street as a child, afraid to say certain things or do certain things. And my sister would say, man, you better not say that. God gonna strike you down. When the last time you heard a child say something like that, Lawya?
Right, that's true. That's true.
Even when we were walking by ourselves, there was a fear of God not to do or say certain things in our conscience. Because why? We could pray without some Satanist or some nut job on the other side saying, well, okay, what's wrong with, you make me feel, you offended me by thinking there's a God.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe if there was a study down the line that we could quantify down the line, that the majority of what we see in society began when they said no more should the Bible or prayer be in the schools. Okay, that means if someone is operating on the outside of it immorally, sexually or otherwise, automatically that disqualifies them to have the higher moral ground on anything concerning me or my family. See, but when we took the Bible out of the way, what replaced it? See, what replaced it? The immoral. Now they can use psychology and all these other things to get a moral, or even education, to get a moral high ground to now attack those who believe in God. Stop gentrification. Stop, set up moral standards according to the Bible, like it was in the beginning. And it's not offensive. Anybody that want to deal with their own political agendas, that's on them. But we have a right to set up what's right according to God. Okay? Put prayer back in schools. Promote and incentivize families staying together and discourage separations and all these other things. Discourage sinful activity, which is deemed immoral according to God. Shut down marijuana dispensaries. Shut down drug dealing. Shut down anything that would put us out of our right minds. Pharmacy, sorcery, shut it all down and get back to the basics. And I believe those are the hot button topics that we should be focusing on, opposed to the news triggering stuff we're seeing every day that's pushing us into agendas. This is what we should be talking about. But go ahead. I digress, Elder Lawya. The floor is yours.
Yes, sir, absolutely. And I think all of those are very valid points. Even going back to the first point that was made concerning the prince of the power of the air, the same spirit that worketh in the children of disobedience. And it just so happens that we're living and operating in a society we're the children of disobedience, have control over the messaging that we and our children receive. And I think that anyone who is a parent, especially in this time of young children, one thing that is very alarming, and I think that just one of many things that we should focus on and really have a conversation about is where the society is going when it comes to the messaging. One of the things we're seeing is that objectivity, slowly but surely, is becoming a crime. The ability and the desire to look at things from various angles, to look at things from an objective point of view, which at one time was praised, is now becoming not only, it seemed like it's becoming a crime, but it seems like slowly but surely with these various events that are taking place, even though it may seem like it's one thing, ultimately it ends in objective thought, free speech, alternative perspectives, alternative views being silenced. I'm going to give an example. At one point, and this is going back even to the Academy lesson this past Sunday, in which we show how science was used as a means of trying to replace the narrative of the Bible and the narrative of God. Well, once you replace the narrative of God with science, you can only expect that to create a snowball effect to where even the science, which at one time was praised as for its rationalism, for its method of drawing conclusions according to what can be examined, what can be experimented upon and practiced and replicated throughout the earth, eventually that would come under question. Eventually that would fall from a state of objectivity to subjectivity. What do I mean? We're in a time in which initially science would be after obviously science has been used to replace the narrative of God as the creator. Now mankind is pretty much awarded as the creator of himself, or evolving from nothing, lifelessness, unintelligence. Well, the snowball effect is now that science that has been praised for its so-called objectivity has now come under fire to the point where now the science that told us that there were only two genders is now telling us that, well, there's a multitude of genders. It's all now become subjective. It's now, instead of being objectivity, what can be replicated, what's true according to science, what's true according to biology, what's true according to rationalized, established facts that have been established through the scientific method, have all become subjective to the point where I can come to the conclusion as to what exists, what doesn't exist, what's right, what's wrong. There are no two genders. It's whatever I say it is. I'm whatever I say I am. It's my truth versus your truth versus my truth. And then ultimately, it doesn't matter because none of us really have the truth. This is the world we're moving towards. And it's getting to the point where if that's the case, if there is no truth, if there is no objectivity, how can, let me put it this way, I don't want to sound insensitive. I'm making a point, but I don't want to sound insensitive in making this point. Who's to say that the events that are taking place with, the things that are being promoted in the news as far as what's taking place in Texas, what took place last week in Buffalo, as far as what's being reported, who can say, based on where we're going in society, based on the war against objectivity and making everything subjective, who's to say that those things are wrong if it's my truth versus your truth? How can the children of disobedience, who in one breath tell us that there is no objective truth, that it's whatever we say it is, come back on the back end and tell us what we should fear, what we should be afraid of, what should we weep over, what should we cry over, what should we look at as an event or a catastrophe?
Exactly.
There's no objectivity. It's whatever I feel it is. So who's to say that those things are wrong if there's no objectivity? Well, praise the Most High that we have the scriptures and the knowledge and the foundation to be able to determine what is right and wrong. It's not left up to subjectivity. It's not my truth versus your truth, or your truth versus my truth. It's the Bible truth over all truth. Okay? I just want to read this real quick where it says in Psalms 15:16.
Yeah.
But unto the wicked God saith, what hast thou to do to declare my statutes? Or that thou shouldest take my covenant in thy mouth, seeing thou hatest instruction and casteth my word behind thee. So these people are telling us how we should feel. What should we look at as wrong? What should we look at as right?
Yeah.
When these people reject what God say concerning right and wrong, they cast away God's instruction while at the same time telling us to receive their instruction. It goes on to say, when thou sawest a thief, then thou consentest with him, and has been partakers with adulterers. And it goes on and on.
Yeah.
In fact, I'll read verse 19 as well. It says, thou givest thy mouth to evil, and thy tongue frameth deceit. So this, the majority of things you're going to see being promoted through the messaging of the children of disobedience and their Lord, who is the power of the prince of the air, will be deceit. So what we have to do and what we have to focus on is, as Elder stated, is getting control of the messaging, at least that is permeated within our homes. Because if we allow them to dictate the messaging, you're going to fall for the subjectivity. You're going to fall for the ideologies that tell you that there's no right, there's no wrong, but then come back and tell you that an event that took place is wrong. Well, I thought you said there is no right or wrong. Which one is it? So you'll be in a state of total confusion, and we know that the Most High is not the author of confusion. So, as has been stated before, one thing that we should be concerned with and that we should be speaking about is where the society is going if it continues in this state in which the righteous don't have a voice. Where something is wrong, you can't state it's wrong because of how someone may feel or what have you. And with that, I conclude.
Well, thank you, Lawya. You brought forth some good points, man. And it's like this, man. It's like, I mean, of course, anyone should feel sad when any heinous crime is done, like what's ever being reported out there. But it's deep how the media and others tend to only focus on some of the same stories with the same outcomes while ignoring the total degradation that's going on within society. Everyday things that can be fixed, that's being ignored, like our people are being destroyed, gentrified. Men are under attack, right?
Right.
All
Absolutely.
these other societal things that are being ignored daily, right? The separation of family, right? I mean, the absence of God. And I'm not just saying in a country, just amongst individual family anymore. We're going to talk tonight. It's satanic control of the masses. And what I want to hear more so than anything is, the last I checked, and listen, I think people should have the freedom to do whatever the country, whatever their tax money that they put forth. If someone is a taxpayer, they should be able to afford the freedoms of what they're paying for. The right to travel, the right of assembly, freedom of speech, the right to bear arms. All of that comes with the freedoms you're paying for. And I just hope out of all of this, we focus on God being taken out of the schools altogether and God not being taught in the fear of God, opposed to an inanimate object. The last time I checked, I don't know a gun anywhere that's serving a life sentence. So I just hope the narrative doesn't switch to an inanimate object more so than if they start talking about that. It's like, well, hold up, man. Last time I checked, Smith and Wesson Colt 45 never spent one day in jail.
Mm-hmm.
So everything become politicized, and at the end of the day, if we're going to talk that, we need to talk about the things that we should be discussing socially to help the children of Israel who are under attack. All right, so I want to put that out there real quick. I see already that Elder Rawchaa has the phone open. So let me pull the people in real quick, okay, Elder Lawya, and you can keep your mic up. One
Yes,
second.
sir.
One second, let me pull in. Elder Rawchaa, I'm coming in now. And yes, for those who missed it, the Hebrew and Bible Academy has started. We're only in week 1 right now. Week 2 starts this coming Sunday. Tracing the serpent seed. We're going to identify the gods who were here in the earth before Adam was made out of the dust of the ground. The fallen ones were in the earth already. They were in that congealed ball of ice when the earth was just one continent. There was an ice age in creation when the Most High put a firmament around the elements. The water on the inside became ice and they were in it. The gods who would rival the image of God were in the earth first, the fallen ones. Tracing the serpent seed. Satan, Lucifer, the fallen one, that's right. He can form himself as man. Okay? He brought the ideology that would separate man and woman. And that's going to lead us into a lesson we're going to go into. The modern day Adam, Eve, and the serpent. What's the modern day serpent and its ideology? A lot of you may think that it's just a male form of Lucifer. But no. He can also appear female as the Baphomet. He's the leader of the feminist movement. The modern day Adam, Eve, and the serpent for the first time will be taught in the academy, and it's going to shock you. Okay? If anything that I'm saying interests you, you want to be a part of this, go to historytimes.org and enroll. Okay? historytimes.org. Don't worry about it. You didn't miss anything. If you enroll, we'll give you the week prior. We'll give you the news, the academy lesson, the creation of the universe that Lawya just referenced, as well as the Hebrew. You'll get the news, Hebrew, as well as the class well in advance before Sunday, okay? Before Sunday. All right, let me now go to the calls. All right. historytimes.org.
Blog Talk Radio. Welcome to Blog Talk Radio. Please hold and you will be able to listen to the show.
Unmuted.
Okay, thank you all for your presence. If you would like to say something, please hit 1 within the queue. Hit 1 and I'll see your hand raised there. I'll go to the hand raised, those who have their hand raised first. 515-605-9327. The satanic control of the masses. As I've mentioned, the powers that be were concerned that alternative media had the higher voice opposed to the controlled mainstream media. So eventually what they would do is censor those who would talk freely and eventually, slowly, incrementally take it over by moving mainstream media on to alternative platforms. That's where we're living right now. That's what's going on right now. They're trying to shut up the information and censor us, but yet we're going to talk freely, not deal with the messaging and the triggering they're doing out there. We're going to talk on this program about what our people should be focused on. Diane has a comment, 512 area code. You're first. Diane. Hold on. Okay, I'm having some problems. One moment here. One second, folks. All right, let me reload this. One second, folks. This, I think Blog Talk is acting up a little bit. One moment. All right, I'm back. All right, we have Diane. One moment. Okay, Diane, you're live.
Shalom, elders. It's Sister Diane from Killeen, Texas.
Yes, how are you, Diane?
Good, good. I'm glad you can hear me. So I have 3 thoughts. I'll be real brief. The first thought I have is I think we should focus on learning homesteading skills, because when everything breaks down, if we know how to milk ruminants, then and care for them and righteously slaughter, we have milk, we have meat, we have butter and cheese, and so we can eat despite whatever this world's doing with their Babylonian cuisine. And then the second thought I have is to build community, really stick together and come together as Israelites and Gentiles, because I'll assume I'm a Gentile, but the Gentiles have a lot to offer.
Yeah.
And if we come together as a community, we can really find our talents, and because every person has something great to offer. So I think building community, because then it won't matter to us what this world is doing, because we'll be focused on each other and our talents and what we can bring forth. The next thing I have is an idea, the GOCC email newsletter that can go out weekly or monthly, highlighting all the great things that the Israelite nation is doing, as far as like any good news, anything that we should be thinking about, and health tips, just anything that will drive the Israelite nation and the Gentiles who follow Israel, to drive us all forward, moving forward despite this world going backward and doing all of their perversions. And the last comment is based on what you said concerning the Babylonian healthcare system. I haven't been to any kind of a doctor for 25 years. So it's definitely possible. It can be done. I haven't been to the doctor for even a yearly physical for no reason. And I used to go to eye doctors all of the time. I haven't been in the medical community for any reason for 25 years. So it is definitely possible. So when you say detach, I don't want people to laugh or smirk. It's really, really possible that we can detach ourselves from everything of this world. The Babylonian food system, or edible system, as I like to call it, the Babylonian healthcare and everything that they do. And I really think it's a great idea to have a GOCC, either a monthly or weekly newsletter, so we can zoom in on all the great things that the Israelite nation is doing, because there's a lot of good to speak of, and that will negate all of the bad press that the Israelite nation is getting. And we can come against all of this bad with good. And so praise Ahaya, and thank you for allowing me to speak.
You got it. And I'm going to call you for that olive oil. And one thing, the scriptures tell you that at the very end, the Gentiles will entreat us well in the time of trouble. So eventually, like she said, the Gentiles have been stirring, they've been doing a lot, and they're going to help out Israel at the very end of this. That's Bible prophecy. And guess what? Diane, Elder Lawya, I mean, she's living proof of this, right? We didn't know her from anywhere. We were just teaching the Bible, right? And out of nowhere, the Most High had her understand the doctrine and say, you know what? The resources and the things that she's stored for her family now belongs to our family. And that's Bible prophecy in a nutshell, where at the very end, the Most High says he would cause the nations to entreat us well in our time of trouble. So we're not alone. We have the Most High and the nations who believe in our God, and believe it or not, nations, Gentiles are very grateful for the knowledge we've been bringing forth. Because don't forget, the enemy didn't just lie to us. The enemy lies to everyone. So now the nations are looking at it and saying, you know what? There is a similarity between what we see your people went through here in America and the narrative of Egypt. Now it's starting to make sense why there's systematic oppression against you. Because you're God's people. You're the children of Israel. And, you know, and a lot of Gentiles, a lot of nations really don't have a problem with that, really. Or they don't really have a problem with that. All right. So, all right. Thank you, Diane. And I know you're always there for us. And of course, I'll be hitting you up for some of that olive oil. All praises be to the Most High. All right. I'm going to go to the next call. Elder Lawya, you have anything to say on that, or are you good?
Yes, sir. As the scripture says, as you mentioned, Satan didn't just lie to the nation of Israel. He lied to all nations. And the Bible prophesies in Jeremiah 16 and 19 that Gentiles will come and say that their fathers have inherited lies. So we don't necessarily, as many may wonder, why we don't fall to, or we don't get on this thing where it's, hatred or anything of that nature against the Gentiles. We understand why we're in this condition, and we understand what's going to get us out of this condition. And it's not going to be through hatred and animosity with the nations. It's going to be through reconciling with our God. And in that process, the Gentiles will, as the Bible says, will be a light to the Gentiles. And as the elder stated, that they will entreat us well in this time. So yeah, that's pretty much it.
Yeah. So we may talk about what the immigrants and the social aligning against us politically and all that, but that's not all Gentiles. Okay. This is just how the system is trying to use immigration and immigrants to replace us and put us down and all that. But this is no attack against them. Okay. We're just highlighting their social social engineering against the children of God. All right. Next, we have, Elizabeth has a question. 910 area code. Elizabeth.
Shalom, Elder. How are you?
I'm doing well. You have a question, Elizabeth? I'm doing fine. Thanks for asking.
Yes. I registered for the academy on Wednesday.
Yeah.
Okay. I didn't get a welcome packet. I didn't get anything. I've been trying to contact people through email.
Okay.
Or whatever I could do, and nobody is responding. It's very disappointing. It really is.
Sister, don't worry about it. You got the right guy on the phone. You know I'm gonna fix it for you, right?
Yes.
Don't worry about it. Let me do this, and what I'll do is I'll make sure this is fixed for you tonight. Okay. All right. I don't know who's, I don't know because we've had others who've received it. We have people in with no problem. So maybe there's steps that you needed to take that was there that you didn't, but it doesn't matter. We're not pointing fingers. Okay. Hold on.
Okay.
All right. And we'll have someone call you in a couple of seconds. Hold on. Stick with me, Elizabeth. All right.
Okay.
I'm going to have someone call you. Matter of fact, let me pick up my phone right now. So you may get a call while I'm on here. And they'll tell you what steps to take to get in. And we'll make sure you get all the information that was missed, okay?
Okay.
Okay, so don't worry about it. Don't get frustrated. I'll look out for you, sister. Don't worry about it. Hold on. Let's see. Elizabeth? Hold on. Okay. Call and help for Academy. Okay. This is the number I can reach you on, the number you've called, right, sister?
Yes.
Okay. I humbly apologize, but I'm so glad you called me because you didn't miss much. Week 1 is there, but we're going to get that to you in advance. Well in advance before Sunday. And you won't have to worry about this happening ever again once you're in, okay? So what she's going to do is she's going to call you. Just text your information. Let's make sure it's correct. She's going to call you, okay?
Okay.
And she's going to direct you right now on how to get on for last week and get that, and you'll use those same steps for this coming Sunday, all right?
Okay.
Okay, it's fixed. All right. And I'm going to put your phone number down, and I'm going to check tomorrow. I'm going to just call you just to confirm you're in, all right?
Okay.
Thank you. Do not get frustrated. It's good. All right. Thank you, Elizabeth. All right.
Thank you.
All right. Bye-bye. Okay, we have Gianna has a comment.
Shalom, Elder. How are you?
I'm doing well, Gianna. As you can see, the topic of today is satanic control of the masses. It seems as if the media is doing everything to get eyeballs and ears into one direction, to actually embolden whatever they're doing politically, while ignoring the true issues within our community or within the earth itself. You have anything to say on that?
I just wanted to say that I think the biggest thing that we need to focus on within our communities is building our own unity.
Yeah.
This country is really set on destroying us, and they're doing it from both the outside in and from the inside out. And our people are being more focused on promoting equality with the world instead of unity with one another. And one of the biggest things that they're using to break us up is the Bible. They're turning the Bible into something that's they're making it the biggest symbol of hate, when in reality the Bible is trying to show us how to love each other and follow the Most High's laws, but they're making that into something they turned it into something that isn't right. They turned it into something to be feared and to be hated by the masses. I don't know if that makes any sense.
And yeah, sister, I think you brought out a good point, because I want to know what their so-called political utopia looks like. Like at the end of what they're trying to achieve politically, what does equality looks like for them? If families are not together, if no one knows who they are, if you're free to do whatever you would like to do, what exactly is equality? Can anyone tell us what that is? I'm going to ask you, Lawya. Thank you, sister. Great points. Great points. Elder Lawya. Right?
Yes, sir.
What is equality? Because I'm tired of them using this equality or inequality as some political hot button topic, right? At the same time, they're stomping us in the ground, saying, "Yeah, we're being further unequal. We're being stomped into the ground daily," while they're saying, "Yeah, equality," and pushing us into the ground at the same time. I mean,
right. Right.
So what is equality? What is it?
Well, equality for them is simply being able to share the same toilet as another race or another nation, being able to sit down and eat at the same restaurant as another nation, being able to gain employment and work at the same job with another nation or another race. But we all know that that's not true equality. You don't have equality unless you're able to produce as a race or as a nation for your nation what other nations produce for their race or for their nation. So for example, equality wouldn't just be sitting down on the toilet or sharing the same toilet with another nation. We have equality when I have the plant that makes the toilets or whatever facility that makes the toilets, the same way you have a facility, I have the same facility, which allows me to make those same toilets and send it out to the restaurants for all nations to use. We're not equal until I actually have a facility or farms to produce the food that goes to the restaurants that allows me to employ my people as well as others, the same way you have a farm that sends food to the restaurant that allow you to employ others, and that we have our own restaurants that allow us to have control and employ others the same way you have those restaurants, and so on and so forth. So this low-level idea of equality, of being able to share facilities, it doesn't make sense. That's low-level stuff. It's when we actually have the same exact ability to, let's say, have our own police force that polices us the same way you have your police force, same military, same banks that you have to, fund your communities and things of that nature.
Yeah, and you made a good point. There's no equality unless you have the power to protect it, right? You must have power and the standard military to protect your interest. That would make you equal to another power. But until then, just like the scriptures show, you have the powerful and those who pay tribute. So it's nothing more than
Exactly.
Exactly. So it's nothing more than a hot button political topic to make us believe, make us believe that there's a political stance or someone in position politically who could actually share in discussing the causes for the little man or those who are without. It's all political posturing. Okay, there is no equality. Okay, and there will never be equality, and neither do I desire for equality. I want all those political push button things out of the way, and let's discuss what's really going on. All right, amongst our people. I think this is Labab has a question. Labab, I hope I'm saying your name correctly. Labab.
It's Labab, Elder.
Labab, how are you? You called in before.
I am great. I think that to change the structure of what we're going through is that adults have a chance to take over the right to discipline their children. I think right now the government has a right to discipline our children and tells us how to raise our children, and we need to focus on taking those reins back. And in a lot of cases, because parents are scared of their children. That would change our communities right there. You cannot talk to a child.
So how would we go about that?
First of all, I think I raised 3 children, and I would speak to the neighbors' children. And back then they would start and say, "Aren't you scared to speak to them because the child is unruly?" And when I would speak to a child, I would say, "Do you think that your parents want to see you doing that?" I think you have to take that authority and not be fearful, knowing that the Most High is going to back you up when you speak to a child, or when you speak to somebody, when you see that they're doing something wrong. You're not doing it in a hateful way, but you're trying to correct them because you see down the road there is a ditch, and if they keep on going that way, they're going to fall in it.
Okay, so I see what you're saying. I see what you're saying. We've allowed this liberal society and indoctrination of children against parents. We've allowed that structure in place to silence those who once corrected our children. There was one time outside of the parenting, there was a correction mechanism up the street. It wasn't just the parents who could talk to the child and say, "You're going the wrong way." That was a community responsibility. And you know what? The children's listen. I'm going to call your dad. All right. Back then we didn't have cell phones. You know what I mean? But they listen, they would grab the child and bring the child up the street to the parents. Say, "You know what your boy just got into?" Right. So right. What you're saying is, I believe through time, the righteous and those who really care for people have been silenced. So it's time for us to speak up more concerning our children and fight against the indoctrination. They have indoctrinated our children against us, where our children believe they know better than us. So it starts with us standing up, and really parents standing together on code like we once did. I mean, now if someone's spanking another body, you hit my child, and next thing you know, people taking off their shoes, putting Vaseline on their face, taking their earrings off. And it wasn't like that before, right? It was like, well, listen, she should have did that. You shouldn't be that. You know what I mean? So, yeah. Internal responsibility as a community and being able to correct inwardly. Great point, sister. Thank you. The messaging. The satanic control of the masses. It seems as if the media can put out a story to trigger us from week to week or every other week, as if they really care for what's going on, while ignoring what's really happening within our communities, what should be talked about politically on the forefront, on the front pages, on the media, in the media. All right, let's go to the next call. Tracy has a comment. Shalom.
Hi.
How are you doing, Tracy?
Pretty good. There's been articles recently posted about black wealth will be zero by the year 2053. Have you heard of those?
I believe it's going to be zero before that, but yeah, I've heard some of that.
I believe it's not just a guesstimate. I believe it's a plan.
Yeah.
One of the things that's pissing me off is a powerful state like Atlanta, Georgia. They're selling us out. You know, we're actually ran by black people. The county is ran by black people. The mayors are black people. Everybody's black. And recently, Bill Gates have been buying up everything. People so interested in Bill Gates buying all the farmland. And you know what his company, his real estate company is called? Cottonwood, AG Management. But he's buying not just the farmland in Atlanta, he's buying the projects up in Atlanta. He's buying, I don't know if you ever heard of Bankhead Highway. You know, the rappers always talk about it. He's buying land there. He's buying land in East Point, Georgia, Palmetto, Georgia. And his plans are to build a live-work type facility with apartments and restaurants. I'm from where Bill Gates is from, but I've been in Georgia for over 30 years. Whenever I go home to visit my family, Seattle is just tore up. And it's tore up because of these technology boys. These technology boys move to Seattle, and what they do is they hire their own people. They'll travel from all over America. They don't hire within the city. So they'll bring their people with them. They'll end up, if somebody normally had a two-bedroom that was $800, now all of a sudden it's $4,500. They'll raise the cost of property to where even if your grandmother left you a house and it was paid off, now your taxes, are $2,000 a month. So people started losing their homes just because of taxes. They're like locusts. They go in, they cause the destruction. Seattle at one point told everybody, I will buy you a bus ticket anywhere in America to go live with a relative or anybody, only to find out that 95% of the homeless people, which they have over almost 12,000 homeless people, that's twice the amount of people that's in my city. But they offered them a bus ticket, only to find out that 95% of the people that were homeless were natives. They were born and raised in the Seattle area, and they had lost their homes. So they started doing this, marijuana's nothing. Marijuana's, it's not a gateway. Oh, yeah, it is a gateway, because once people started losing things, they started smoking marijuana. Then they started doing the heavier things when they found out they couldn't even get back on their feet. There are people living under the bridge in Seattle who go to work every day. It's like a chain reaction of once you lose your home or lose your apartment because you lost your job one time, now they're working, they're living under the bridge, they're going to work every single day, and now I saved up enough money, let me see if I can afford a tiny apartment somewhere. Now they don't qualify because they got evicted, therefore their credit's ruined, and so now they have to stay up under the bridge still. Next you know it goes from marijuana to the harder drugs, and now it's a city full of junkies. Well, Bill Gates is buying up so much land in the black side of Atlanta. And he plans on building these live-work places. I know technology from Seattle to San Francisco. He will come here, and it seems like it's a good deal. Oh, he's going to bring jobs, but he will bring his own people. Those jobs won't be for us.
Well, sister,
those jobs will be for his own people.
Sister,
and when they come down here, they're going to they're going to raise the cost just by them coming of property value. And there's going to be a lot of black people that live in these areas that are going to be forced out of their home just because they can't even pay the taxes.
Well, sister, what it sounds like you're saying is it seemed as if, I mean, you're talking about a patient plan, but it seemed as if this was systematically planned to create a society of hippies, drug heads, dope fiends, with the full board plan of gentrification and moving them out of the way eventually. And now they're starting to make good sense how right after Biden was voted in, it was, they were giving out what you would call drug paraphernalia for all the people in the inner cities. You understand? But here's a question I have for you. Because this is what I'm saying.
Good.
The areas we're talking about. Now, I'm not going to really absolve our people for, of some of these, from some of what we're experiencing here. Because I remember when Georgia was on its way up, they was calling it the black capital. All of the millionaires leaving California, Babyface and all that, making this the black Mecca and all that. And everyone was talking about black excellence in Atlanta, right? But then at the same time, there was an undercurrent there. There was a societal erosion that we allowed to operate on an undercurrent at the same time. Once a year, all colleges would get together in Atlanta, and they had a thing, I don't know if it's still a thing now, called the Freaknik.
The Freaknik.
And you laughing. Okay. So you remember that, right?
Oh yeah, I remember it.
Okay. So we can't blame Bill Gates for that. Right? But like it's as if they foreseen what would happen if you would have sin, unrepentant sin, operating publicly at the same time of what you would call a financial. It's like you can't put it this way. There's a difference between how the other nations does it when they regenerify something or take it over, and how we does it, how we do it. They know that, okay, there's a certain level of class that must be shown, a separation from, not that these other undercurrents doesn't exist, but they separate it from excellence so you'll know the difference between the two. Right? We had record companies, we had this, that, and the other, but then we have Freaknik. And then it turned over where next thing you know, it was coming out where a new narrative that was creeping around where it's the down low. It went from black excellence, Freaknik, down low to the gay Mecca. All up, right up under our noses without anyone pushing back at all. And at the same time, sister, the politics were predominantly who?
Us.
No, the politics was Democrat. So there's no way we could have blamed, there's no way we could have blamed Republicans or conservatives for what we're witnessing now.
Bill Gates is a Democrat.
No, I'm just saying all in all. Hey.
Yeah, I know, but I don't.
I'm just saying now. So now that we know there's no politics to fix things, some of the things you said was good. But what should be the messaging? What should we focus on now? We know that the Democrats can't help us. We know these triggered stories they putting out there are to create rage so that we can focus on something else other than the erosion of our people. What should we be focused on now?
I believe we should be focused on who we really are and not being manipulated. Because one of the things we vote Democrat like crazy, one of the things that they make us vote on, oh, Republicans are the rich people. No, they're not. Bill Gates, Mark Zuckerberg, the richest people in America are all Democrats, so we actually vote for them to control us. And a lot of people don't realize it. And that's what's going on in Atlanta. They're pushing Democrats so bad. And like Stacey Abrams, for one thing, every day I get in my car, I always hear a commercial for her. But she was like the grand marshal for the LGBT parade. You know what I mean? And to me, I see wicked when I see her. You know, I hear she's being controlled by George Soros.
Well, I don't know about all that. I don't know, but there's rumblings out there, but go on. But guess what? She doesn't represent us either. I mean, what's her name? Stacey?
I know she does.
What's her name? Something Adams. What's her name again?
Stacey
Abrams. She don't represent us either. She don't.
I know, but she
doesn't represent us.
She wants to turn Georgia. She wants to turn Georgia Democrat as far as the governor, and that will kill us. To me, that will kill us because Georgia, when the pandemic hit and all this, the Republican states stayed open. The Democrat states shut down. They said 75% of all Black businesses shut down in those Democrat states and will never reopen again. So during the pandemic, if you didn't see the states of true freedom, you know, you're crazy. You know, they forced people to take that jab.
Okay,
in Democrat states.
Sister, you get
not in our state.
Sister, hold up. I got to get to the next call because you're getting deep in, and I don't, you know. So I'll tell you what. On Patreon, I would love for you to call in so we can discuss this further. I have Truman coming in to discuss certain things we couldn't talk about for herbs and all that to help people that have actually exposed themselves, let me put it that way, to some of the chemicals out there. So I'll tell you what, sister, because when you start talking politics into that degree and all that, you know, sometimes I don't know what we can say here. So hold some of that and we're going to continue this discussion this coming Friday. Okay. Call in. And hey.
Okay. I've never been to Patreon before, but
okay. Well, just call in around 2:30 at this same number, and you don't have to be on Patreon to call in. So just call in this same number around 3:00, and you'll be able to finish. All right, whether you're on Patreon or not.
Okay. Well, all right. But my main point, it is evolving around politics.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. It's our politics. Thank you, sister. I'm gonna place you on hold, and who we trust over the politics are the issues, because these people never, ever address the issues that can solve the problems permanently. Never. They're not in it to permanently solve issues. They're in it, you know, so that they could run on another issue that's wrong that they could have corrected, or another issue or disparity they could have corrected. All right, so all in all, we need to focus on permanent fixes, following God's law and setting a moral standard for ourselves, highlighting and actually celebrating traditional family, male and female, husband and wife, as was intended according to the Bible, prayer back in school, no more indoctrinations for the state anymore. Prayer back in schools, even if we have to separate schools and privatize them to where now they're being ran religiously instead of through the state anymore, because that's how schools first started. Prayer and Bible back in the schools. We have to get to children, you know, at the most impressionable ages, giving them full understanding of what it means to fear God, what a male is according to God, what a female is according to God, so that they can set their life in politics accordingly. Azrael has a comment. Shalom.
Hey, Shalom, Elder. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you, sir?
I'm doing well. What I'd like to say is I think it's about time. It's high time that we, as a nation of people, kind of draw a line in the sand as to where it stands as it pertains to our families that we're bringing up in this, in time. A couple months ago, I had to do the same with, and I think it starts in our families first. I had to do this a couple months ago with my father and my brother. My father and I had a discussion, long story short, because I have 3 children. So I have 2 daughters and a son. And my father wanted to understand why it is that I don't bring my brother, or why I don't bring my children around my brother's house when all the other kids are there. What I said to him, and anyone can use this, is that between my wife and I, we feel it best that what we're teaching in our home be reciprocated in our absence. And we would like for all of us as a family to collectively work together in order for us to not cause any confusion amongst the children. Because at the end of the day, they need to see a working village working together.
Mm-hmm.
My father tells me that I'm not using that Bible. Before he said that, I told my father, we don't want to infringe on anybody's lifestyle. We don't want to make anybody feel uncomfortable or anything like that. So you have the freedom to stand on your free will. We don't want to impose on nobody's free will. But this is the standard that is being set in this household as it pertains to our children and what it is that we're bringing forward amongst them. My father proceeds to tell me that I'm not dealing with that Bible and all that other stuff. My father's fantastic. That's fine. I have no animosity towards my dad. I love my father at the end of the day, no matter what. In relation to my brother is gay. And as you can clearly understand, I'm not bringing my children up in a confusing system like that. It's bad enough these children have to see it on TV shows that they watch on a day-to-day basis. So I'm not going to put my children in a position to where now I have to have an uncomfortable discussion with them at the tender age of like 5 and 7 as to why it is that you come home to a mommy and a daddy, but when you're spending time with your uncle, you're seeing your uncle and another man. I'm not putting my children in that position, and I reserve the right to stand on that hill, regardless of anybody else's opinion of that in this society. So, and it was a conversation that I know a lot of us probably dread, and it's interesting because that is a conversation that I dreaded for years having. I had that on my spirit for years, having, that eventually I was gonna have that discussion with them, and the relief I had.
Okay, go on. You can finish. Go ahead. You go on and finish. The relief you had.
The relief I had. The relief that I had that when I had that discussion with them. I mean, it's like I could breathe and I could sleep again.
Okay.
Kind of sleep because it bothered me because I love my father and I love my brother.
Yeah.
I don't hate them or your decisions are your decisions. But why should I have to be uncomfortable in relation to my decision making, or I have to stave off how it is that I'm operating on my side to accommodate your lifestyle when I'm not going to get the same thing reciprocated unto me in my household?
It's understood is that you're standing on some core principles that you are free to exercise. And let me tell you, it cannot be compromised because, you have to realize that, put it this way. I'm trying to watch what I can say here, right? All right. Okay, it's fine. It's fine. Let me put it this way. It's a shame that we have to censor ourselves here, right? But It's like this.
Why is
It's
the serpent
okay.
harmless
Okay.
as a dove?
Listen. Let me ask you this question. Your father say, "Don't bring your Bible up in here." Okay. So what sets your father's moral standard? Where does his moral standard comes from when it comes to the understanding of a family and the structure of family?
Honestly, my father's what I personally believe my father's perception of it, of family, is his upbringing himself, like where him and his siblings were kind of scattered for a time from one another, where he had to go live with this relative, someone had to go live with this relative, because my grandfather had some disorders about himself. So it started there. And I understand my father's desire to want us, his sons, to get along. I understand that because him and his brother didn't see eye to eye coming up. So I wholeheartedly get it. And the same with my mother. My mother herself had the same issue, but the difference and where the two of them separate, my mother, surprisingly, was the one who respected everything it was that, wife and I were saying as it pertains to our children. She respected everything, and her thing was, those are your children. And I understand how it is, because no one told us how to raise you guys.
Okay,
no one really did. So who am I to stand in the way of that?
So really, like a lot of us in our community who grows up, your father never really had a healthy example of a traditional husband and wife as an example growing up, right? And that sets us at a disadvantage to some degree.
To an extent, yes. He lived with my my great grandmother and her husband, and they were, and to put it like his word, they kind of like beat him over the head with the Bible, and it was just everything, the Bible, and just beat him over the head with it. So it's like he saw the hypocrisies along with Christianity himself. And I think what he told me was, I never wanted to put you guys in that position because it made me feel uncomfortable. So I left you all to interpret and choose whatever it is that you were going to do. Now, like I said, I understand where my father was going at with that, but I also see the error in that too, because by leaving us up to interpretation with children, we need that direction.
Yeah.
We require that. So what
is your father? Is your father atheist?
No, he's not. My father's a believer in a higher power. That I'll put it simply like that. My father believes in a higher power.
Okay.
My father,
let me ask you this question. Let me ask you this question. I gotta frame it in a way, because you talk about this stuff publicly. You know who rules all of this stuff.
Right.
What do your father think actions outside of the traditional husband and wife, do he deem that sin?
No, not at all.
Okay. All right. Well, we're gonna have to have these discussions, right? On sexuality to a degree, and what negative effects certain sexualities may have on the traditional side, right? Because we've always discussed, what they call the abuse, the bullying, and all that they have experienced against, from those who are traditionally male and female and believe in the Bible example of family. We've already heard their side of a negative that came from traditional man and woman, but we have never heard on our side the negative that comes from the other side. Like, how does that negatively affect us? Should we have the right to talk about that? I'm walking a fine line right now, but you see what I'm saying? Why is it only one side get to talk about the negative effects of what they experience?
Exactly. And I've voiced that. I have voiced that in the past before.
Yeah.
And only to be met on deaf ears about the entire situation. Like I said, I haven't spoke to my father or my brother in about 6 months. Like I said, I don't have no ill towards them
Of course,
at all.
that's your brother. That's your
not
brother.
That my life has been exactly, and that's my father too. So like, like I said, my life hasn't been necessarily the greatest situation, as far as like, it's funny because after we had that, it's like I got immediately attacked by, like spiritual forces, all that other stuff. I started getting attacked left and right for like making a decision to choose the Almighty over my family, over my own father and my own brother.
Hey.
I chose the Almighty over them. And were you to ask me would I do it again? Yes, I would. I wouldn't hesitate again. I'm not about to continue to hold my tongue. It's like it says, be hot or cold. So, I made a decision a while back, and, if I got to suffer for a while for it, then so be it. But on the end, I know that there's victory. So I get up every day, and I still pray for my dad. I still pray for my brother,
Good.
Because, like I said, at the end of the day, they're still my family. I still love them, but you can love people from a distance.
Yeah, and eventually, who knows? I mean, everyone have their road to Damascus moment, and you just hope that the Most High will bring them to their knees in understanding who He is. And guess what? If it happens, you'll be there. Thank you, my brother.
Right. Not
All
a problem. Thank you,
All
Elder. Shalom.
All right, shalom. But it's clear in the impressionable years, Elder Lawya, it's clear that you only want one messaging for family. You only want one message or one example for children in their impressionable years when it comes to family. You don't want to confuse a child to what family is in those impressionable years. They have to be old enough to be able to make a decision and, to be able to, unpack what they're seeing. Everything that they witness, that their parents allow them to see, is an educational moment, right? If their family is acceptable to it, a child is looking at it. Why? Okay, that's normal. Okay, if my father or mother agrees with it, then why shouldn't I agree with whatever that is? And that can be anything. That can be if you're raised in a house of thieves, liars or killers. If you see people killing all the time, you become desensitized to it. And you're like, well, I guess, this is, I'm in the mafia. I was born in the mafia, so it's normal to me, right? So what the brother is saying, I can hear his pain, I can feel his pain, but children are very impressionable, and anything their parents agree to is acceptable. That's a form of education for them, more so towards what is acceptable for them in the future. You have anything to say on that, Elder Rawchaa?
Yeah, it's very true. And another thing with children is that they more so soak up what you do opposed to what you say. And I think that the brother in his testimony, he stated that his father, I guess, did at some, to some degree receive a biblical upbringing, but it was more so upbringing of telling someone to do something and beating someone over the head with the Bible, but not actually living the principles of the Bible and seeing the hypocrisy and actually seeing how people or seeing how things play out. So I think that's very important as well, that especially with children don't follow what you say, they follow what you do. And if your actions show that there's dysfunction, there's disorder, then they're going to follow that disorder more so than you telling them don't follow the disorder, don't follow the dysfunction. They're going to follow what you do.
Thank you, Elder Rawchaa. Great points. All right, we're only going to go until 10 tonight. We got 15 more minutes, so let me take the rest of the calls. I'll just go right through them as fast as I can here. 507 area code says no caller. 507. Would you like to speak? Do you have a topic or a question or comment or?
I have a question and a comment. Shalom, Elder. This is Auntie B's house.
Oh, how you doing, Auntie B?
Can you hear me?
Yes. How are you?
I'm good. I'm blessed. I have two things. One is if the Amish can go out and get their own communities and start up their own stuff, how come we can't do the same thing?
We can.
Is there any kind of protocol that we have to follow?
We can. See, but it's a little different. It's a little different when you're trying to do this on the same level as them, because there's when you go, there's regulations out there that can prohibit certain type of things. Excuse me. When it comes to towns and all that, you have to get licensing, the taxes, and there's a lot of other. Don't think I didn't look into these things. So we have to do it more so. Keep in mind at the very end, before they entirely destroyed Jerusalem, well, when they did destroy Jerusalem, we were operating under the current, underground more so, knowing that Rome was seeking, they were seeking us out for us to operate, on the grid along with them so that they can find ways of undermining us. So, but even if we try to do something like that, don't forget, we tried many things. You see what happened in Rosewood. Excuse me, I'm about to sneeze here. You see what happened in Wall Street. So we have to do it a little different than how they do it. We have to do it in pockets where we can grow food and live here and live there, a little under the radar, because they're not trying to publicly see an example of that much success from a community compared to the Amish. Okay. Because I don't believe they want that. I don't believe that they would want that messaging out that something like that is possible. So it's hard to do something like that and get it off the ground without a lot of undermining. Okay, you have a lot of undermining.
Now, see, the reason why I was saying,
and not only that, you have to realize. Let me put it this way. You see how they have already demonized the optics of an Israelite publicly already, with these fringe stories that have nothing to do with it. But Israelites cannot do anything without some negative connotation attached to it. They did that on purpose, so that if we were to have something, you have one family that's disgruntled, one thing that goes wrong, and automatically, right? Automatically you have a, I don't know if you know about Philadelphia. I lived in Philadelphia when a black mayor by the name of Wilson Good, under his administration, they dropped a bomb on Old Sage Street in South Philadelphia on a house called the Move Member, where these people just wanted to do what? Live off the grid, but have their own house and teach their own children and grow their own food. And they were bombed. So automatically they put the optics out there negatively to say, if a black person claimed to be an Israelite, they are a cult. So what they'll do is, don't forget the Branch Davidian thing too, where they'll shape a narrative in the media, close things off where there's no communication, and claim that something is going on there that isn't happening, while they're bombing the same time and all that, and telling the news, well, they got some people held up there. So we have to be very careful, because we're not the Amish, okay? The Amish has a lot of other stuff going on that people don't even know about, okay? They are key assets to the social landscape when it comes to the high spiritual connections they're dealing with on a low level. So we're just seeing the coming together, Little House on the Prairie, the cows moving and driving a horse. But no, they are part of that, the wizardry too. So we have to be wise as serpents, harmless as doves, understanding how they're already shaping things politically. And it doesn't matter what type of community you're in. Something is going to happen. Someone is going to be disgruntled, and they only need one story from one disgruntled person to turn the whole thing out. So it's different with us than it is with other people. Right? Because something is going to go wrong.
Yeah.
Listen, people live every day. People die every day. But can you imagine if we had a community and someone died there? You think they would see that the same way as anyone dying regularly?
No, it'd be something totally different.
Thank you. So we must be wise as serpents, harmless as doves. Yeah. Okay.
Okay. Now, the reason why I was asking, because I live out in the country and they are selling plots of land cheap.
Yeah.
And you can get a few plots together and a few families, as long as you build your own house on that land, you can get it dirt cheap.
Oh yeah, and by the way, if you didn't know, the Amish are Esau.
Yes.
We're Jacob. Yeah. Hold up.
So of course they can get away with a lot more than we can.
We're Jacob. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
When the last people live and die every day in the Amish community. Have you heard about it?
No, you don't hear about it.
So suppose we were living like that as an example of a way to live and off the grid and, you know, own milk and cows. And one story comes out that someone tripped up and died there.
Oh, somebody killed them. They committed suicide. They was murdered. It'd be a whole big thing.
They shouldn't have went out there with that cult. We warned them. They'll go get the unhinged uncle that just drunk a fifth. They'll interview him down in North Philly. And he's drunk. He's drunk as a fish, and he's being interviewed on Channel 6. This is what they do. They'll go find his cousin. I told him, and his cousin, you know, they'll find, and don't let them get their hands on the person's aunt. I'm talking about mascara running. She's, oh Lord, why? Oh Jesus, why? We'll be wiped. Listen, we'll be wiped out. Listen, we'll be wiped out before sunup. Okay. All right. I wish we could, but we're the children of Jacob.
That's crazy.
All right.
Now, the next thing I want to say is this. You had touched on the subject of a lot of women came up missing.
Yeah.
One thing about that is, women, ladies, please, if you have to go out, go in a buddy system where it's a couple of you going at the same time. And if you can at all possible, have a man go with you. Never go alone.
Yeah.
And always have something with you for protection. It's harder for a man to fight 4 of you versus you being by yourself, because you can be easily overcome.
Yeah.
And 2, even the men, be a buddy system. Never go alone. Always have something where you can record your phone, your cell phones. Have an extra throwaway cell phone, because if they see you with one phone, they'll never expect you to have another phone where you can make a call to somebody and let somebody know something.
Exactly. Be careful out there. Don't be traveling alone.
Men are coming up. Men are coming
sisters
up
are
missing. Men are coming up missing too, and they are not telling that part. Also, my husband just showed me something about the boy that shot those people. That off those people yesterday, those children.
Yeah.
He was saying that
sister,
he was being bullied.
I'm saying, but sister, I don't want to repeat their narrative, because I know what's out there already. And I know what the events.
But I'm just saying.
No. We could talk about.
I'm not going to say anything about that.
No. Listen, listen. We can talk about that Friday, but I don't want to talk about who this guy was. Gotcha. No, I don't want to go there. Please help me.
I want to send you a picture.
I already seen the picture.
I just saw.
I seen the picture, and it's the same narrative. It's the same narrative. We know who's behind it all, and yeah. Well, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
All right, but
Yeah,
but be there.
I'm still waiting for you for that jelly. I got it for you.
For the
I'm
what?
all set.
For the what?
I just need you the jelly.
Oh, okay. Hold on. Let me.
The jelly.
Yeah, 1 second here. All right, I'll call you tomorrow on that. Hold on. Auntie B, right?
Okay. Yes, sir.
Hold on, sister. 1 second. 1 second. All right. Okay, I'm gonna call you tomorrow. Okay.
All right.
After our elders meeting. I appreciate it. All right. Bye bye.
Okay. Bye.
Yeah, she got that homemade grape jelly, Lawya. I know you want the strawberry. We're gonna work that out. All right. I see you, Sunshine, but I'm bringing you in a little later. Elder Lawya, you like to say anything on that? Because we really don't have the freedom to do what others do, and I don't think people understand that. We have to. If history have taught us anything, right? We just can't outright show forth a community of success. I mean, like that outright. I mean, that's a threat to all, because eventually others throughout the world will begin to follow suit, right? We would like to, but the majority of what we're doing is organic, changing things one house at a time, right? Where it's really happening without them being able to triangulate on anything. Or they would love one community somewhere where everyone is together. They would love that, but it's more about changing the mindset of our people so we can change inwardly. They can't stomp that out readily like they would if everyone was just in one place. But go ahead, Elder Lawya, you have to say something on that?
Yeah, just real quick. The sister earlier made the statement of Bill Gates buying up land and buying up farmland and things of that nature.
Yeah.
And that's not for, that's not just for, any old regular reason. You have to think about not just the color aspect of our people coming together and seeking to be self-sufficient, which we are trying to do as much as we can in this time. And eventually we're going to be forced into a situation where we're self-sufficient. But, they see that, as you're mentioning, they see that as competition. You're trying to undo what they're doing as far as they're buying the farmland so that they can actually have control over consumption and access. So when we start making those big statements like that, it's sending a message that they don't want out there, which will now, you're stepping on their toes.
Yeah.
And we know that happens when that happens.
And now they have these new environmental laws at any time that they see you growing and doing things self-sufficiently. There's nothing for the town to change the laws and say that, well, I know you bought the land, but you can't grow food on there. We have to save the earth.
Right.
They can code, you can buy land and now they can code it for whatever they would like and say, well, no, that land isn't coded for you to have animals there. See, this is the little tricks they play. You understand? So it's best to operate undercurrent a little bit, because they'll say, you sitting there with 100 acres and can't do anything with it.
Right.
Because a township and others are saying Mother Earth, it's not coded for that. You're scorching the earth by doing that. No, you can have the land, you can pay for it, but you can't grow food there. So a lot of these new, what I would say, climate change regulations will prohibit that to some degree. So, sister, if you do have some land cheaply, get it. You don't have to publicize it. Get it and do it. And when it's time, we can bring our goods together to help feed those in need.
Absolutely.
If you know some cheap land, get it. Okay? But let's do it that way, right? All right. What's next? Great point, Elder Lawya. Let's go down the line. There's a few more people here. We have Lisa. We have Lisa. We have Talib has a question. Dekalbe, let me go down the line. Okay. I see you, Sunshine. I'm going to bring you in a moment. I think this name is Jiran. I hope I'm saying your name right. Jiran? Or Garan?
Yes, it's Jiran.
Oh, Jiran. Okay. The floor is yours. Where are you from, Jiran?
I'm from New Jersey.
Okay. You have a comment?
Yes.
Okay.
How you doing, Elder?
I'm doing well, sir. Yourself? Thanks for asking.
I'm good. So, all praises to the Most High, first and foremost. But I just want to say, back to the original topic, what we should be focused on. I really feel like, the scripture said that we was going to come out of Egypt with a great substance. So I feel like we should be focused on that substance. We should be putting something in place to where we can get reparations. And I feel like it should be the church, the body. I feel like the body should be the one to basically put that together as far as what we deserve in reparations, because politicians is not going to do it right. You know what I'm saying? I also feel like the second thing is we should be playing some type of offense too. Like, we should be trying to get the Klan indicted. That's how I feel. They using RICO laws right now to indict like rappers. So right now is a good time for our people to be trying to get the Klan indicted under the same laws before they try to change those laws.
To get who indicted?
To get the Klan. I feel like, a lot of these shootings that's going on is coming from people that's inspired by the Klan, which is like a gang as well.
How old are you? How old are you, young man?
I'm 34.
Well, let me drop something on you. Okay? The Klan is a political tool, no different than the Black Panther Party. It's a boogeyman. It's more so a narrative that the media puts out there as so that we can see one big enemy of quote unquote black people. Okay, but when you look at the creation of the Klan and where it came from, you'll realize, you know what I mean, you're chasing a ghost. All right? If the Klan wasn't created, the media would create a new one. Okay? So I wouldn't waste my time there because that's more so a trigger to move black people on one side automatically just by saying KKK, Ku Klux Klan. Okay, that's part of their wizardry. Now, the first thing you said, I can get with that. I have records to show our people as Israelites, and they knew we were from the tribe of Judah and all that in their own records. So I believe that the president have been set from World War I, World War II, the Japanese internment camps and others, that they can make a special dispensation for the descendants of slaves here in America. That if you can give something to everyone else, survivors and everyone else who have suffered from the hands of an empire, you can do that for the black slaves who built the country. I'm down with that. And I believe that would set the precedent for all of our other people who've been colonized in Haiti, Jamaica, and around the world. But it would start right here by us setting the president here and saying, listen, since y'all giving people, certain groups, finances and all that right up under our noses, and you can give China and all that $50 million in Ukraine, this amount. Listen, what about the people who built the country? So I'm down with that because that's a clear indication. That's a clear place to start that we can all agree with. Before immigrants came here, there was one people building the infrastructure for the corporations that have been ignored and have been systematically destroyed from one generation to the next. And I believe on purpose. So that alone, not immigrants or nothing else, but the people who came here on cargo slave ships should get some level of financial reparations. I believe that. Okay? And because I think it starts somewhere. It's not, well, suppose I'm from here and start. They want to convolute the waters, but when it comes to every other race of people, they don't muddy the waters. They give what they're supposed to give to Asian people who are Asian people. And they don't say, well, it's for Asian people, but also people of color. But when it's our people, They'll try to include people of color. Okay, every other people. Well, no. So I believe that according to the narrative of Egypt, that's biblically warranted. In the Bible, the Most High told him, listen, get that from the Egyptians and leave out with it. Because why? The Egyptians would not have had that wealth without us. So I think that parallels what the Most High says. I think that that's a discussion that should be had outside of all of these hot button triggering events and all that we're hearing on the news. What it should be, what everyone should be talking about is what? The people who built the country, this is what they should get for building it. And all the immigrants who came benefited from what? Our people building that foundation. The corporations and the banks was able to grandize themselves, building their corporations off of slave money. So I believe that a president should be set that way, beyond any shadow of a doubt, because our people are suffering out here with nothing, as if our people didn't build this thing. We're living in tent cities, and this country was built on the blood, sweat, tears of our people, and now we have East Indians and everyone else benefiting from it. That should be the conversation, opposed to everything else that's going on. Thank you, my brother. Great points. Anything else? You have the last word.
Thank you.
Well, let me get to the next call.
Right there.
Thank you, my brother. I think you're right, but I have the records to show. I have a lot of records. Guess what? I even have the records in England to show the black families that was sold and all that in England. I have those right in my garage right now. Big, they're books this big, 4 of them. 425 area code.
What up, Shalom, brother?
Shalom. How are you, Andre?
I'm blessed, brother. Man, I'm glad to finally speak to you, brother.
Bless you.
I've been a follower since 2013.
Yes.
And I just want to thank you. I want to start with this. First, I think as a people, as Israel, we got to focus on our not to be triggered. One thing about the enemy, he understands that Judah predominantly, that we move off of emotions.
Yeah.
And we have to have control of our emotions. And if you look at 70 AD,
okay.
What Nero
did. Let me say something. Do I believe that they will ever give our people reparations? Am I looking? No, brother. I'm just hold tight. I'm speaking to people out there.
I'm sorry, sir.
Let me tell you, everything we're putting in the ground, sowing seeds, is for the kingdom to come. We don't expect them to give us anything. For those who came in late, we're just saying, out of all the triggering distractions out there with media, hypothetically, what should we be talking about that can actually help and change our people? Since our people would follow any political story out there that's triggering us outside of the true direction, why don't we have a discussion separate from that can actually benefit us? Was the context of the conversation. Okay? For those who came in late. And when someone mentioned, well, why shouldn't our people get reparations? If we can get money for LGBTQ, money for this, money for that, why can't they help our people who are suffering? So these are hypotheticals, folks. It's not a scenario. We're discussing something so that we're not discussing what the media wants us to discuss. All right? Let me put it in its proper context for the people who came in late. And please, if they put a comment down there ignorant to what the conversations are, Rock, you don't have to erase them. Let it go. It's fine. Andre, okay, the floor is yours.
Oh, yeah, brother. You just said all the words that was in my spirit. I love the Most High. Shows how the Holy Spirit works. So how the enemy works, he works through psychology. I really strongly believe with slavery, it was a tool to use towards now, because one thing about the enemy, he understands who we are before we even knew who we are. He understands the greatness that we did in the past. He understands our father, Abraham, the greatness that we have in us. And how I know this, when I was a kid, how the teachers used to look at me. They used to say, oh, he has ADD. He said, my mom used to argue and fight tooth and nail for me to have proper education. And I used to see that this how the system was built at a young age. But now I'm 34 years old, growing up, watching how the communities got taken away. How we used to go outside and say, hi, Miss Parker. And we had full control who was coming in and out of our community. I'll speak for all the Martin Luther King's streets all around the United States of America, every ghetto, you know. And we seen our soldiers get locked up. They took our soldiers away. Mm-hmm. And I really strongly believe all this drama, I'm gonna say what's going on with the media, is to connect. Is really a test, and the Most High sees it. See who's really with him and who's really with the media, who's really with the enemy, who's really triggered by the enemy, who's really the robot, who's you know, and those who gonna move off of emotions is gonna make us. It's like a chess move. The Most High already has a place for us because we have sound minded. We're already prepared. We already know it's gonna be the downfall. Jail, locked up, and death. We've seen it all of our life. There's so many times that we grew up with no food in our refrigerator, and we was hungry. We had no food in our belly, but the Most High prepared us. He gave us strength.
Yeah.
And you know, we got to be focused on the Most High. We got to look back and say, you know what, you know, give ourselves a pat on the back and just look at us. You know, look in the mirror and say, we're beautiful. It's a blessing that you're standing here. You know why? Because we survived from the slave ships. Some of the slaves were thrown in the water. Some of the slaves died.
Yeah.
So for you to be American, the descendant of a slave, that means the Most High was with you throughout the time, through beatings, through being hung, through lynch. To survive that and still be here, and to witness all these things is a blessing in itself. And if you focus on that and understand the future is way greater than your past, the Most High is with you. And the enemy cannot stomp you down.
Absolutely. Thank you, brother.
If you can live without food, if you know, okay, you take my food away from me, the Most High got me. He had me.
Hey, man, listen, it'll rain manna. Well, Andre, I got to get to the next call, brother.
One more thing, you know. So I
got to get to the next call,
you know?
Andre. So it gotta be quick.
Yes,
you gotta wrap it up quick.
It's gonna be quick.
Go on.
I want to say one last thing is thank you very much for your time, and I so long to you and all the elders. And I'm calling from Seattle. Hopefully, I'll be baptized.
You will.
I gotta go. Peace.
Thank you, my brother. And what I'll do, Andre, I'll take down your number so that we can call you to connect with the Seattle body, brother. Because we need strong young men with you, like you, with that fire, that spirit to continue. And yes, they can take away food, but the Most High have it rain manna. Okay? We'll be in the wilderness and the Most High have it rain manna, right? Great point. The Kali has a comment. Elder Lawya, are you back with us? Got to check.
Yes, sir.
All right, can you put your video on? Because I'm going to need you to take this call. Okay, Elder Lawya going to take the call. The Kali has a comment.
Shalom, Elder.
Yes, sir. Loud and clear. Loud and clear. Yes, sir.
Shalom, this is Sister Jacaylee from the Dallas body. How are you doing this evening?
Doing well. How about yourself?
I'm blessed. I just had a comment and a praise. So I'm a traveling stylist, and my client told me something very disturbing. And I'm not sure if I'm a little late on this news, but the LMNOP community is thriving at Starbucks. And in their healthcare program, they are funding the, I'll say the transmission surgery, just for lack of being, or being striked, but they're funding that surgery.
I got you.
And also offering a family expansion reimbursement program, and they're paying them to adopt our babies. And they're paying them $10,000 to $12,000 per adoption in assistance. And I just think that amongst Israel, like some of the sisters were saying, we need a community or just a way that we can get our babies out of the foster care system, because that's where it starts. You know, they're altering their minds. And
okay, I'm back.
Sorry, that's the comment that I had. And I have a praise report also too, if I can give that.
Okay, you have something to say on that, Elder Lawya? Or?
Yeah. I didn't catch the last thing you said, sister. You said you had another thing that you wanted to say.
Yes, I said I had a praise report.
You have what? Your phone is pretty low.
Sorry, a praise report?
You have a praise report.
Con.
Okay, go on. I'm going to turn it up so I can hear you. Go ahead.
Okay, I want to say all praises to the Most High for Sister Natisha. She's in the Dallas body, but I visited her home for business, and I just wanted to say it was such a blessing seeing the kids that she has there. And Elder, they were so loving, so kind, and it was just refreshing seeing their innocence being protected, and their minds were so beautiful. So I just wanted to say that, all praise to her and her family, and that I hope that the Most High blesses her.
Thank you, sister. Thank you. All right, let's go to the next call. All right, we're going to try to push through to get to the rest of the calls. Only have a few more. We have Talib has a question from the 609 area code. I guess, yeah, that's New Jersey. Shalom, Talib.
Shalom, elders. How is everybody doing?
I'm doing well. Yourself? Thanks for asking.
I'm doing great. Yeah. So how do I start? So I've been listening to your church, and I've been watching a whole bunch of videos of your teaching on YouTube for some months now, and okay. I've been following your church for a little under a year, and yeah, that's I'm gonna make this quick. I saw a broadcast where you said email you at gatheringas1.aol.com at AOL.com and about the baptism, and I just wanted to know, like, can you copy down my number for that just for an update or something?
Okay, no problem. All praises be to the Most High. Let me see, Talib.
Yes,
what part of Jersey are you from?
I'm from Trenton, New Jersey.
Okay, so you'll be coming really to the Philadelphia church. Hold on.
Okay, all right.
Believe it or not, you're only 20 minutes away from the church. So let me...
okay.
Bishop Amath, hold on. Because you're right here. You're right here. So you might as well go to the Philadelphia church. All right, so your name is Talib. And
that's right, yep.
You're from Trenton. And I'll give him your... Hold on, let me give him your number here. Let's see. All right, I'm so glad you reached out, brother. How old are you?
Okay. I'm 19, sir.
Look at that.
Yep.
A young spiritual warrior for the Most High. Okay. All right.
I'm actually coming out of the church.
Yeah.
I'm.
What type of church?
Christian church,
Baptist.
Yeah. The church that I went to recently, it's a whole bunch of them denominations. Like the pastor there came from not like 3 different denominations. So he basically included, teachings from all different denominations of Christianity. But stuff that I took from it, it was like basically he even had like psychology mixed into it. And I'm not saying that to try to down the pastor at all. I feel like the Most High may be dealing with him in his own special way, but
okay.
Some I took from it, it's like you've been saying about the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. There are still some good to be taken along with the evil. So I've been getting like I just figure, I get better at weeding out the wheat from the tares, so to speak.
Okay. So what you're saying in a nutshell,
So
when I say good and evil, what I was saying was that the tree had good in it also. All right. But all in all, the intent was to take down mankind. Right. So, yeah. So you were able to see the good in it, which led you to the truth. And the truth led you to the greater good, which is Christ's doctrine. Okay.
Right.
So what you don't want to do is browbeat the pastor who may not know any better. So
yes.
And just pray for him and pray that the Most High bring him to the light. Keep in mind, young man, we have many pastors in our Hebrew Bible Academy. Right? Soon there won't be soon there will not be churches in the community. Churches are emptying. So hopefully that pastor will come to the true light and understand the Bible literally, and that it's happening. So, but I'm glad you'll be here, and one day maybe he'll join us. Just ask him to come through and have a conversation. We're open for that.
Okay.
So if you would like,
I'll remember that. Yeah.
Yeah. So even though you're coming through, and I'll have Bishop Amoth call you, I already text your number to him. Speak to the pastor and ask him would he like to sit down. I'll be more than happy to sit down with him. All right.
Okay. All right.
All right. Thank you, my brother.
And okay. So yeah.
And
all right.
And you had another question, or you good?
Oh no, I was just gonna ask when I would be expecting a call.
Before Friday, he'll call you. Okay.
Okay. Thank you very much.
All right.
Thank you very much, Elder.
No problem. And that's another thing. Another point that we shouldn't shy open dialogue in the community. It's time for us to start talking to one another. And so it doesn't matter if you are from a Christian church or a Muslim church or whatever the case is. It's time for us to dialogue and reason one with another to come to a rational conclusion for what's best for all of us. Okay, we've all been confused under these religions. So a dialogue would be healthy, even with the religions we disagree with. That would bring our people to the knowledge of the truth, right? 352 area code. Shalom.
Shalom, elders. How are you this evening?
I'm blessed by the best, and his name is Ahaya. How you doing, Lisa?
My name is Ahaya. I'm doing great, sir. Just real quick on the topic, satanic control over the masses.
Yeah.
I personally believe, Elder, that slavery really has not ended. It's just been perfected.
Right.
We're still all slaves. And as the scripture says, only Christ will free us. Because if you have a 9-to-5 working a job, waiting for a paycheck, that's a slave, to be honest. Some of us think, okay, I have this great job, but unless you're actually working for yourself, earning your own money, or somehow, you're still a slave to the powers to be.
Yeah.
They control the food. They control education. They control the justice system. We're all slaves. So I think the only way, changing the narrative is the only way to change the individual. You have to change the narrative. So my question is, how do we change the narrative?
The narratives are changing right before us. Listen to our discussions tonight. Listen to that young man who's 19 years old saying, you know what? I want to be baptized. Where can I find you?
Yes,
See, but
yeah,
what
I would say that's the key point. Sorry,
yeah,
go ahead, sir.
Yeah, so the narratives are changing. That's why they're going through all these great lengths to cut off, to try to disrupt us speaking candidly to one another. Keep in mind, sister.
Yes, sir.
It was a time where if you enrolled or you subscribed to a channel, that's all you had to do was hit the subscription button, and automatically that person would receive notifications. Now you got to hit subscribe, you got to go to the channel, hit notifications, and then hit the click down to say, I want to receive all notifications. Then you have to go to Google and say, I want the update to come through Google so that when I'm not on YouTube, it'll pop up on my desktop. So unless you do all these 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 tricks and traps and all these other dynamics, they're doing everything to try to stop you from getting there at the time we're present, right? And then we can't speak candidly. It'll tell you outright that you cannot speak against any narrative outright that's being moved through mainstream. That can be considered some level of, incorrect information, whatever the case is. So all I'm saying is just the narrative has already changed. It has already changed. Or they wouldn't do it, or they wouldn't do what they're doing. But they wouldn't be able to, So the whole thing is what we have to do when they're trying to drown us out with these events that take up all of the news where they're trying to distract us. We have to just let whoever going to fall victim to that, and keep the word study. Keep the direction that we're already on its path or trajectory towards the kingdom and what's important for us. Right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Go ahead.
And I agree with that. And their biggest tool that they're using is division, fear and division.
Yeah.
If they can keep us divided and they can keep us fearful, then they have won. But we have to learn how to come together as a people. And I want people to understand it's not just slavery for us, our people of our color. The Gentiles are also slaves now. It's changed. They're slaves.
Yeah, the New World Order. Listen, the New World Order is seeking to put everyone under servitude. It doesn't matter if you're black, white, Chinese. It doesn't matter. Everyone Satan is trying to put everyone underfoot. You're right. You're right.
And just lastly, real quick, sir. Just lastly, I agree with what you said to the sister, Auntie B. We have to move in stealth mode. Quiet. Wisdom is key, because you can't say, "Oh, I have cheap land here in Kentucky where I'm at. Let's go buy 100,000 acres," and they know exactly where you're going to go buy, because that you're now a target. You're a target, and we can't move like that because of who we are.
Sister,
so
you know what they'll do.
100%.
You know what they'll do. No sooner as we say this is where we are and what we're doing, they'll take someone fresh out of an insane asylum. A black dude, MK Ultra doped up out of his mind, and put some white on him, fringes, and take 2 days and teach him how to rap a Mitri. And they'll wind him up like a robot and push him and say, "That way, join."
Yes, sir.
So yeah.
Yes, sir. But we can still come together. We can still come together, support each other in the body. There are different people, different businesses selling different things.
Yeah.
We need to support each other more. If you have rice and the lady had jelly and this one has honey and olive oil, then we go to our own people and support them. That's how we also change the narrative. We don't have to go out there and buy what they want us to buy. We don't have to go and support what they want to support. Also, turn off your television. Get in the academy. The newsisthebomb.com. That's where the real news is.
Oh, yeah.
And that's it. That's how we change the narrative. So thank you, sir. You have a great evening, and shalom.
Thank you, sister. That's right. Support one another. That's why we have the GOCC network on the Gathering of Christ Church.org's site, where if you have your own products and all that, we would like to support it. Go to GOCC Network. It's cheap to be there. And guess what? We'll network one with another. So when things run out and whatever the case is, we'll know where to get soap, where to get this, where to get that already, because our sisters and brothers are making it, oils, whatever the case is. So yes, let's support one another. Go to the academy, get in the academy and get the real news and not the program news. Right? Let's see here. Almost done. I only got a few more. I'll see you, Sunshine. Hold on. All right. Debbie has a comment. 910.
Shalom and blessings to you both.
Hi, Debbie. How are you?
Oh, I'm doing well. How are you, sir?
I'm doing well. We're about to conclude the night, but I'm glad I was able to get you in.
Yes.
All right, the floor is yours, sister.
Me too. The water. I really have seen so much hijacking in this past couple years that I really think to help our community, we need to be more discerning. And we need to go back to some older ways, even before, Oklahoma and those places where people were vetting who they did business with. They vetted who they hung out with. Parents vetted children's friends. They vetted what they listened to. I remember used to listen to all my kids' music, and if I didn't think it was right, I wouldn't have them listen to it. There's some vetting that needs to go on because there's this new thing now called critical race theory, and this is being taught in the schools. Now, it started out with just, our brothers, on YouTube talking about who we really are. And it turned into a whole letter people movement to where they're pushing it now in the school, hijacked. And I think we give away too much and we don't vet who we connect with. And I think sometimes we have to be honest with ourselves. Do you just want attention? Are you chasing money? Because those things, to give away your community for those things is exactly what has happened. People have given away their communities for money, for fame, to get 5 seconds on the newscast to say, oh, my Lord. And these things are what we need as a people to stop doing. Be more private. Take care of our communities. If you see something on the ground, pick it up and put it in the garbage. If you see a child, and they need some help, or an elderly person in your community, simple things that we need to go back to in taking care of our people without following the outside narrative. And that's all I wanted to say.
Well, thank you, sister. And you know what? Yes. Very, very good points. And fixing the things we can control. Fixing what we can actually control, sir. Right? There's nothing to take to get some trucks together, all these rich people we have in basketball and entertainment, and go through all of the inner city and make sure there's not one piece of dirt or trash or bottle any place.
Yes.
Believe it or not, that would instantly change the outlook of our community. That would because if you see a pile of trash over there and you drinking a bottle, you feel like, hey, listen, I'm not disturbed. Matter of fact, I just made the pile look a little better with this, right? So,
right. My husband and I went to California, and we rode down the street, and with all the tents and all the trash, and people are vending, and they're selling things, they're even selling food, and I'm like, babe, do you think you would want to eat from that vending right there? Look at all that trash. And, of course, it's where our people are. We have Issachar and there's Jacob. And the thing is, I imagined if there was 100 of us just walk down the street and start picking all that stuff up and using our resources in a different way instead of, following this narrative and trying to do everything that everybody is doing. It just... for us to turn from all of that, and just like the sister said before, take your face from the TV, leave the news alone for a while, and focus on your community, because that's where the strongest need is.
Thank you, sister. Thank you. I really appreciate it. Great points, Debbie. Great call.
Shalom.
Shalom.
You're welcome.
And I'm going to tell you, it's a shame because, we don't see it anymore. It becomes such the norm. We don't even see the trash or the garbage anymore. But hey, we clean what we can. We need to change internally what we can, and that'll be something that would just change the optics of everything to show that we actually care about the places or the community we live in. 832 area code. I'm putting some things out there, and I'm sure it's going to fall on some people out there of influence or with the means to do some of these things. And guess what? we're going to be teaching on the streets. We're going to be doing certain things, and whatever we can do to impact our people positively. This church is definitely going to do our part, right? 832 area code.
Elder.
Yes, Shamar.
Shalom.
Shalom. I have one more call after you, and then we'll wish you all Godspeed. All right, but go ahead, Shamar. Sunshine, I got to bring you on, but you only have 1 minute because I'm past the time. I'm 2 minutes past the time. But Shamar, the floor is yours. I'm not giving you a limit on your time because we very rarely hear from you, Shamar. So the floor is yours.
I'm not Shamar.
It says Shamar here. Well, it doesn't matter. Tell us your name. Talk to us.
My name is Rawchaa, and I have a question that's off topic, if it's okay.
Okay, go on. Sure.
I wanted to know about birthdays. Is it okay to like go out to eat and, you know, remember your birthday and praise the Most High for another year?
Well, I actually did someone asked me a question about that last Friday on Patreon. Did you hear that?
I did not.
Okay, because I'm going to upload that so that you can hear it. In a nutshell, the Bible says where there's no law, there's no transgression. But so there's no place in particular that you can say, well, okay, it's unlawful. But there's a lot of pagan traditions that are attached to it. Right? So there's nothing wrong with going to dinner with your family for any particular reason. It doesn't have to be celebrated all over the place or paganized or whatever the case is. It's something private. You understand? But all in all, the pagan aspects that's connected to birthdays are wrong in of itself because there's a lot of pagan practices with it. But I was able to quantify that perfectly in my conversation with a sister who spoke of it in good earnest. I mean, in good faith, wanting to know last Friday. I'm going to upload that on this channel. Okay? And then the Bible also talks about liberty, right? You cannot have your liberty be an offense and cause someone else to stumble, right? So if someone sees your liberty, even though you don't mean it that way, and it caused them to go back into the world, what good was it celebrating that or doing that? Right? So I went into it in full detail so you can understand, something of a gray area, something that when it's a gray area, right? How to operate as such, right? Like a lot of people don't know that the cake in itself was a ritual to the Queen Mother of Heaven. Once a year, you would put the cake in front of the queen's foot and light a candle and blow out the candle. And if you didn't do that once a year under the Babylonian superstition, spirits will haunt you for the full year until you come back and make penance for your, for your evil against the queen. So that's where the cake and the candle came from. The hats came from the wizards. When you see children with the hats on, the pointy hats with the star and all that, those are the hats of the druids. So a lot of these practices are pagan that's intertwined with it, right? So that's when people start celebrating it, putting it online and doing all these things with it, not realizing that there's, of course they didn't tell us this growing up as children, the pagan aspects of what we were practicing. Okay. But again, it isn't a sin to sit down with your family on any particular day and have dinner, and it's just dinner. Okay. So you have to make sure you're not dealing with the pagan traditions of it. But I'm going to upload it because I was able to quantify it in a couple of minutes and I focused on it. Okay.
Thank you, Elder.
You're welcome. All right. Bless you. All right. I'm at the very end. Sunshine, jump right in. And we give you 1 minute so that we can go to sleep tonight. I have to go to sleep. Shalom.
Hi, Shalom. Hi, Elders. Bless you.
Time is ticking.
Hi.
Do me a favor.
Okay.
Do me a favor. Hold up. I need you to cut your copious notes. I know you have them written down. Just give us the last part of your copious notes.
Okay. Oh. Okay. Okay. I just wanted to say, Elder, really quickly, I'll do my best by grace, that everything that's going on is to oppress the poor and take away our liberties, and all of that was set in place as the semen backbone of the Constitution. It's just like a farce because it reveals itself afterwards as an attack, like the Black Lives Matter movement, and all those things that say they're community building or community saving, needing to help us, who they know are the children of Israel. In reality, these same organizations are life takers, and these organizations work against our communities to divert conversation from the point and to just gnaw us down to rawness in our communities with drug or false hope, drug cope, violence, and all of that, and continue the perpetual curse in our states financially, socially, spiritually, in our domestic situations and otherwise. And so the nations continually, from our poverty, they uplift themselves in the riches of the world that they gain from the fall. As it says in Romans, and they will go to the furthest lengths even to destroy their own people, to make sure that whatever happens stays laser focused off of our population and off of the children of Israel and keep us in that spiritual bondage. But being made to rule with rulership and dominion promised through the blood of the Most High with our forefathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, love, we in this awakening know that, they that persecute us know too, that we, as the children of Israel, will not take scraps from the imposters' tables and will not stay with low-level acceptance and access, because we are not like, dogs onto strangers who operate in unrighteousness against us and the Most High's purpose. So we operate as the salt of the earth in code, as a light unto the world, upholding the laws of the Most High and the doctrine of Christ, and by grace and like mind, you going as the disciples did, spreading the gospel and lovers of Christ with worthiness of Him. We separate ourselves from the evils, not running with a feet swift to mischief, teaching our children that male and female created He them. And with eyes to see, watching the terrain that Christ describes in Matthew 24, to prepare ourselves in the famines coming and the birth pains tightening and the cities that we can't go into, though we may want to, walking in the Word with the whole armor and our minds continually renewed for the battle that the Most High, Ahia, will win.
Oh,
and that's
shucks.
all I wanted to say.
Bless you. And she did that all with one deep breath. Thank you, Sunshine. Thank you, brothers and sisters. And I just wanted to put this out there this evening for you all. When usually there's some hysteria out there, media out there, brothers and sisters, do not take your eye off of the ball. Years ago, they said they're losing the information war when we were allowed to speak freely. And right now they have the eyes, ears, and the intention of all of the earth pushing a narrative that will lead to the destruction of God's people. Stay prayed up, sin not. I'll see you all of you, this coming Friday on Patreon, where we'll have Truman Burst. He's going to come on for about 30, 40 minutes and give an update on how to cleanse our bodies naturally. I'll say, okay, I want y'all to understand that. He'll be there to talk about it, to give us some of the key information that's needed for he's going to actually detail some of the herbs you can get access to. There's herbs right in your backyard. A perfect example in talking with him, the powers that be claimed that dandelion was a weed, when dandelion is one of the most healthiest flowers. I mean, as far as for the body, dandelion root, are you kidding me? They told us dandelion was a root, and the Most High made it grow like weed everywhere. A lot of them don't know the medicinal use of this. And you may have something right in your backyard that can help. Along the highway that you can pull up, that can save, that can help you with certain ailments. So I'm going to have Truman come on Patreon and point out everyday herbs that are right outside that you may not even know existed, that you probably didn't know existed. This coming Friday on Patreon. So as you can see, I'm tired. Time to lay down in preparation for I got to get ready tomorrow. I got a lot of things to do tomorrow. And thank you for your presence and viewing this. And as you can see, we're at the end. Satanic control of the masses. That concludes this particular broadcast. But brothers and sisters, keep your eye on the prize, not the distractions. Okay? If they're only talking about one thing over and over again, turn it off. Focus on the Bible and these prophecies and the destruction at the same time going on while they have you and I looking the other way. Again, prepare, get food in your home, store food, get some food so in case there is some scarcity, your family's not caught out there. They're not talking about that. Make sure you're storing food to protect your family for the long run. With that, I'll see you on Patreon this Sabbath, and above all this Sunday. That's right, the Hebrew and Bible Academy this Sunday, Tracing the Serpent Seed. Hope to see you there so I can introduce to you all the real leaders of this earth. They were here before Adam and Eve. The real leaders of this realm. Lucifer and the fallen angels. We're going to break them down this coming Sunday. With that, go to historytimes.org. Stay prayed up. Sin not. We will soon see Zion, and keep in mind, brothers and sisters, the Most High is calling back Israel. Shalom.
The Arabs and Africans told us
at gunpoint,
together our wives and children then sold us. In the belly of these great ships we traveled in fear. By the rivers of Babylon we found our brothers here. Rawchaa in Colombia, Reuben from Australia, Issachar, the Mexicans, from the Judah, the Negroes, Benjamin, the West Indians, Levi, the Haitians. The highest gathering is Reuben from Australia, Issachar, the Mexicans. That's who we be. Judah, the Negroes, Benjamin, the West Indians, Levi, the Haitians, Manasseh, the Cubans, Ephraim from Puerto Rico, the Valley from the Isles of Hawaii. The Lord is calling back Israel. Zebulon from Panama, Gad, the North American Indians, Simeon, the Dominicans. Our highest gathering is